appreciates your recommendation. The Rogue Room appreciates your recommendation.
Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, welcome back to the Rogue Room with Abigail Beck. I am your host, the Rogue Room, or one of those two titles, I've forgotten which. How's it going? Welcome back in. What's happening? How's your day been, folks? Has it been good? It better have been good. I will be rather disappointed in you if you have not had a good day, honestly. I will be. So you better have had a good day. I want to hear good vibes, good news. Good things. Anywho, we're starting off the week with, as the title implies, Bill Maher, suggesting that people watching Twitch, people watching other people playing video games on the internet is a waste of time. You might have heard this story. Anyways, you just brought food, that's good. What kind of food did you bring? Or buy? If you just bought food, what kind of food did you buy? He is dumb as fuck. I used to find him rather amusing at some point in time. I don't know why. Yeah, sports. Literally watching sports, right? What a burger. If I ever get the opportunity to go to the US, I'm going to have to try a whole bunch of burger joints. Ruiner has a great soundtrack if you want more EDM-y version of what I was playing. Okay, there's an idea. That's something I might look into. I've been meaning to play Ruiner because I've heard it's good. I've heard it's a good game. Only 12 p.m. so lunchtime where you are. Nice. I am drinking literally black decaf. That's what I'm drinking tonight. We're back on the restricted diet, folks. We're back on restricting our calories, bringing it down. I'm stuck right into that Texas Southern thing, and it's 6 a.m. Oh my goodness. Bill Maher, more like Bill Meh. Am I right? Yes. Am I right? Am I feeling okay? I've been drinking too much caffeine, so I'm trying to bring the caffeine intake down a bit so I don't give myself a heart attack by the time I'm 38. Preferably, I'd rather just avoid that if I can. You know? I don't want to die of a serious heart condition. You're such a ruiner, same thing you made your character your profile picture. I'm such an attention whore, I made myself my profile picture. Oh, when was the last time I had a profile picture that was themed around a character that wasn't on like my Switch or my PlayStation or something? Because they force you to pick a fucking avatar on consoles. You're not allowed to pick something that you chose, no. Hello Draco, how's it going? That's why alcohol is a thing, true. You shouldn't mix alcohol and caffeine, though, either. As fun an idea as it is, I do remember a time when a bunch of people I knew got together and they bought a whole tray of like the $1 Aldi Red Bull ripoff energy drinks. They bought a whole tray, like 24 cans of those. Between like 3 or 4 of them, I think. And they mixed them with Jägermeister, so they were making cheap Jaeger bombs, basically. They got through the whole tray of those energy drinks. I don't know how they fucking did it, but they were in my backyard at the time up until like the early hours of the morning. Dude, I enjoy drinking, and that one cocktail stream I did with Calgar was quite a fun experience, but I can't fathom, these were the kind of people that just you would define as alcoholics. And I suppose that's the thing, right? I don't understand alcoholism, perhaps. But to make it such a regular thing, I just don't get it. Anyway, because these were the kinds of people that would routinely do this kind of shit. Saturday night, Friday night, get absolutely shit-faced in the backyard for some reason. Beats me. Ugh. Heart problems, you don't know anything about that. Look back at years of chugging energy drinks. I've been there. That's been my main vice for a while, is the energy drinks. And I keep drinking the fucking things. After I said to myself this year I would get off them. You like Jaeger straight? I don't think I've even tried Jaeger, honestly. I don't think I've even tried Jägermeister. So, or unless it was one of the drinks. Oh no, actually, you know what? I think Calgar wanted to bring Jägermeister but didn't to that one thing. But that was a cocktail night, so you know, drinking Jägermeister straight would be different to having it in a cocktail or what have you. Anywho's, prefer Jaeger gay. I prefer all my alcohol gay. How am I? I'm doing well. I'm doing alright. I'm itchy though. I've developed an itch all over my body for some reason. I don't know what it is. But I'm itchy fucking everywhere. Literally fucking everywhere. And I cannot resolve the issue. I've been trying like, hang on, I'll check your message in a sec, Draco. I've been trying to get rid of this thing. I've tried an antihistamine medication. It's not fucking solving things. So you're not doing good. I'm sorry to hear that, Draco. Had to miss work this weekend because you started developing COVID symptoms, so instead of getting the vaccine, you're getting tested tomorrow. Oh my goodness. I hope you're well. I hope that it's nothing wrong. I hope there's nothing wrong with you. I hope it's all just, maybe psychosomatic. Fingers crossed, but if not, we wish you the absolute best, Draco. Yeah, it could just be some minor thing. How am I gonna do a poll that's like cider or whatever drink? How's that gonna work? That can't be a poll. You can't poll that one. That's an open-ended poll. That's not how this works. This is not democratic. This is not indicative of a democratic society. Pick a second drink. Oh, you want me to pick? Okay. Get the feeling I can hear neighbors yelling. Alright, okay. Here we go. How about this? Cider or... Here we go. You folks can, you can pick between cider or champagne. There you go. I do like a good cider. Depends on what it is, though. It depends on what kind of cider are we drinking. But I like champagne. I'm quite a fan of it. This whole exercise was your idea. Agrotech and Japanese beer. What's that? Oh, Agrotech, the music genre. I need to look into like more genres of music. And I've been thinking about this actually. I've been thinking about this concept. This comparison. Music is honestly rather a relevant topic to this discussion. I've been thinking about the whole gender thing. Because, that's what I do. I'm a gender person now. One of those gender people. And gender isn't that complicated, really. At the end of the day, it's not. But there are a lot of little bits and pieces. There's a lot of little nuances amid the conversation that many people do not realize. And it occurs to me that most people, everyone has a gender. Everyone identifies with a gender in some way. Everyone has things about them that you would say are gendered. Their behaviors, their clothes, perhaps their terms of employment or whatever, their hobbies. It all comes down to gender at the end of the day in a lot of ways. But in a similar vein, I've thought about music today, or yesterday, or sometime. I had time to think while I was driving, and it's like, everyone listens to music. Everybody understands music. Everybody gets it. You'd be hard-pressed to find someone who never listens to music, but I dare say a vast majority of the population doesn't understand music on a deeper level. There's more nuance to music than shut up. Yes, deaf people. And even then, I think there are musical experiences that deaf people can experience, but not listen to, obviously. Cider wins. 3 votes to 5. Can you borrow someone's gender? Yeah. You can borrow mine. I don't need it. I don't use it often anyway. But anyways, casually marginalizing deaf people. Don't you dare cancel me for this, because I will absolutely not acknowledge it on Twitter. Anywho. The point I was trying to make, before I was rudely interrupted, was that, okay, most people listen to music, shut up, and a fair chunk of them, like if we're just talking about synthwave music, if we're just talking about that genre, there's a lot of people that don't even know synthwave exists, there's a lot of people that don't realize all of the micro genres in it. Same with metal. There's a bunch of subgenres of metal, rock, pop, ska, hip-hop, EDM in general. There's so many different layers to all these different types of music. And then there's the process of making the music. There's the creative endeavors involved. There's a whole lot of nuance in this thing that everyone, generally speaking, consumes. Most people are in some way involved in music. Whether they just enjoy it, whether they produce it or whatever, but most people don't understand it beyond the surface level. And yeah, ska, S-K-A. It's that kind of the music you would typically associate with Tony Hawk. The Tony Hawk It's the Tony Hawk skateboarding genre of music. Go listen to something by Body Jar or... let me think. Who else have I got? Give me a second to give you a recommendation. Yeah, so Body Jar, Less Than Jake. What's another good one? I'm trying to think. They use a lot of horns, a lot of like wind instruments, I think. Like, not a lot of wind instruments, but like, I think it's not the saxophone that comes up in ska a lot. It's something else. Oh no, there are actually no. Yeah, saxophone does come up. How would you describe ska music? Yeah, skater culture. There you go. Hello homonyms. Hello Flintlock. Days and Days. I'll have to check them out. It's actually Jamaican. There you go. Well, I kind of figured that actually, given the sound. But the majority of the ska that I have listened to stems largely from the Tony Hawk games. So I'd have to explore that genre some more. Did I gym today? I did. I did squats. I hit some squats. I got 65 kilos on the bar.
The Rogue Room
total.
Appreciates your recommendation.
Carl Miguel, thank you for the host. I think I'll put the headphones. I don't want to put the headphones on. But I also don't want... No, actually, I'll turn the music down on my PC. There we go. Because I don't want the alerts to be too loud and reverb through the mic. Anywho. Yeah, I did... This is the thing. I used to be able to squat like nearly 100 kilograms. Nowadays, my max for 3 reps... I wasn't trying for a 1 rep max today. But for 3 reps, I was able to get 65 kilos. That's including the bar. So the bar is 20 kilos, then 2 20-kilo plates either side, and 2.5 kilo plates on either side. Ska punk. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, there we go. That would explain that. And, like, this is literally the point I'm making. This is quite literally the point that I am making here. Is, like, I only know the basic level of ska from Tony Hawk. I only know that surface introductory level of it. Same with, you know, a lot of musical genres. Same with a lot of concepts in music. I only know a bit. You know? I don't know all the innate depth of it. Which, you know, music is a lot more intricate, honestly, than the idea of gender. Gender can be summed up in like 2 minutes. And, but this was honestly, like, this wasn't even really supposed to be a topic. I'm just rambling about how, you know, something that is generally speaking universal in society, like music, gender is something that's like a lot of people learn that base level and never do any deeper diving beyond it. They just accept that base level and move on with their lives. This is why the gender discussion is so difficult to have, but I suppose at the moment, it's at the forefront of social discourse. There's a lot of discussion happening around the gender thing. You know, not a lot of people are talking about music production, generally. Still, yeah, I think it's a good analogy. I don't know. Public Enemy ruined Tony Hawk. They definitely aren't ska, neither is Bus Driver. Oh, I know, but like, I think a lot of people's introduction to that ska punk genre would have been the Tony Hawk series, is what I mean. I know there was a ton of different music in Tony Hawk, for sure. I got into Rage Against the Machine through Tony Hawk and The Matrix. Gender can be summed up in 2 minutes. I wish conservatives understood that statement. It can be summed up in 1 minute. It's really not that difficult. Here's a flex for you. Let me get my guns out. Oh, I still love my biceps, even though... Thank you for giving a heck, Draco. I have to complain. Where's my cat? My cat's not sitting behind me, is he? No, he's down there. He's down there. I need a camera that points at him. Hang on. Can I? Hang on. Give me a sec. Alternate angle. Where are you, cat? There is cat. There am a cat. He's sitting beside me on the little like gym towel thing that I've got. Which it's like a $3 dodgy cheap gym towel, which I just literally use to cover my cameras at night. Anyway, I bought this like 6 fucking weeks ago or more at this point. Let me show you this dress, right? This is, oh, sorry. Upended him. Anyway, look, check this out, right? This is fucking cool, right? It's got flowy. I think I've showed this off on stream. It's really nice. And it's too fucking small. Move. Now, there is a picture of me wearing it, but given the fact that it took me like 6 weeks to get the fucking thing, and I knew that from the get-go. I knew they would have a long, shipping time. It was mentioned that, like, that store, Holy Clothing, does, like, made-to-order stuff. So, you know, if they've got a backlist of orders to get through before they get to mine. So I had to wait for it to get made, and then I get it, and it's too small across the chest and back area, and the arms especially. It gets, like, really tight around the forearms, because there's, like, a bit of stitching around those sleeves. It's like Nordic text, Nordic runes. It's really cool, and it does fit, technically. However, like, I'll show you the picture I've got of me wearing it that I posted in the selfies category. We got this, right? There's me wearing it. It does fit, technically speaking. However, it's just too tight that I'm worried about wearing it out and tearing it. You know, like putting my arms up too high and all of a sudden the armpits rip out or something. So I'm going to have to take it to an alterer or whatever they're called. The person what alters clothing and get that fixed out. What are you buying? It needs holes in the bicep areas. Yeah, it is a lovely piece of apparel. I do like it quite a lot. I can't justify wearing it at this point in time. A tailor, yeah. We don't really use the term tailor anymore, though, do we? I forgot about that. I knew it! There's always going to be something that I forget. There's always going to be something I forget on this fucking stream. That's what green looks like. What are you selling? There's teal. I'm trying to think, like, what's the best color? I don't think maybe the blue. Does the blue look good? What do we think about the blue? Thanks, stranger. What's funny to me is I've never played that game. I have never in my life played Resident Evil 4. I watched someone play through that game multiple times. I know it back to front. I've never once in my life, actually, I don't think ever once in my life have I even played a Resident Evil game, and Fox bought me Resident Evil 3. 2. Resident Evil 2. So, how about after we do Fallout New Vegas? After I finish Fallout New Vegas, we'll do that. We're never going to get around to that Bloodborne run, are we? See, I've got Resident Evil 2 installed. I'm going to have to give that a crack at some point. Anyways, shall we talk Bill Maher? Because we didn't actually talk about this thing. We just sort of briefly touched on it. You're assuming gender. You don't know. Summarizing gender is like summarizing race. There's always someone's opinion you're going to seem illiberal to. Perhaps. But the way that, for example, Bill Nye the Science Guy outlined it is really good. Is just that gender is a spectrum. It's not just male and female. There are points in between. And that's essentially it. You know, most people are going to be on one end of the spectrum or the other, but there are people in between that and people that fall outside of that. And, you know, that's the most basic way that I can illustrate it. And, you know, people who are, you know, the idea of trans, for example, and cis is, you know, you've got someone on one end of the spectrum who identifies as the other end of the spectrum. Trans, the meaning of the prefix trans is opposite to, basically. To sum it up, is opposite to. And the definition of cis, which some people on Twitter like to freak out about, is same as. It's not a slur, turfs. Anyway, Village is out soon, if I'm not mistaken. I am interested in it, though. I've never really been into Resident Evil. Anywho, let's talk about Bill Maher. Bill's a has-been, to be honest. He literally has the YouTube algorithm on his side. He has won capitalism. The man has some nerve complaining. Indeed. So let's talk about this whole discussion. For those of you who missed it, to summarize it, there was a clip that went up of Bill Maher from The Bill Maher Show, whatever it's fucking called. Real Time with Bill Maher. Essentially, you know, his format, from what I can deduce, is largely the same as mine, in a sense. He takes real-world issues, largely heavily political. Not mine has skewed a bit. And then he tends to, real talk it a bit. But of course, the interpretation of real talk depends on where you sit on the political spectrum and if their opinions align with yours, essentially. So, garbage time with Bill Maher. Real depressing with Bill Maher. We already mentioned that. Had to explain to someone what a turf was the other day. Their response was basically, I hate people like that. Yeah, pretty much. A person you would call a person with a PhD in being a cunt. Hurricane Marlin, enjoy your middle finger with my awful nails. I need to fix those. But anyway, I completely got off track. The situation with Bill Maher is there was a clip that went up of him saying, I forget what the lead into this was, but he essentially said that watching games on Twitch, he knows what Twitch is and he understands Twitch, but he thinks it's a waste of time for people to be watching streamers playing video games. He chases after like 18-year-olds. Well, that I didn't know. If cis was a slur, then trans was a slur too, then that means they'd have to perceive trans as that. And like when it comes to separating us, but not when it comes to the point they are separated. Indeed. But yeah, anyway, he just said watching Twitch is a waste of time, and honestly, as was mentioned before, watching sports is a waste of time. Watching people like Bill Maher, literal just talking heads, he's a man that exists to entertain his audience. That's a waste of time, Bill. Watching you is a waste of time. Watching me is a waste of time. And I've always gone by the notion of time you enjoy wasting is not time wasted. So come waste time with me, Enjoy yourself. Have a good time. Chill out. And that's really the crux of it. And everyone on social media saw this clip and they were just, basically giving the same takes I'm giving now, essentially. English only stream, please. Went in and educated yourself on Bill Maher just now. Apparently he's on Peter's board, so there's that too. Oh, lovely. And that's really the crux of it, is like, I get the suspicion the reason he says that watching something like Twitch is a waste of time is because his format is largely political. He gears towards politics. That's what his audience wants to hear from him, is his political viewpoints on the world. Right? That's what he spends his time indulging in. And when you've got someone who is so heavily political, and this is the thing, there are a number of extremely political streamers here on Twitch whose entire format is politics. I haven't watched all of them, I'm not familiar with all of them, but by and large, the people who are offering political commentary on Twitch are also gamers. So they understand the notion that, hey, yeah, you know what, politics is probably a more important thing socially to be considering than watching somebody playing a video game, but at the same time, watching someone playing a video game, watching someone play sports, watching a music video, watching a TV show, a dramatization of real events, watching a documentary, etc., is a waste of time insofar as, I completely forgot reading a book, insofar as you are spending that time away from reality for a bit to take your mind off the real world problems. Okay, this is one of perhaps the greatest privileges that we have in this Western society. And I'm not saying that other societies don't have entertainment, but there are certainly parts of the world where there are people who do not get the privilege of being able to waste time because they're in literal slave-like conditions. Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you talk about the factory slavery that's going on, where people are working 12 to 16-hour days on next to no sleep, and children as young as 6 are getting started in factories, Bill, instead of wasting your time talking about people watching fucking Ninja on Twitch. Do people still watch Ninja? Hang on a second. Do people still watch Ninja? Dude, he fell off hard. Dude, Ninja fell off fucking hard. I'm not trying to diss him or anything. Like, maybe it's just that he stopped streaming as much, but, like, you look at his peaks where he was averaging over 100,000 viewers, and nowadays he's averaging down around 10,000. Riding with Biden. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Well, yeah, there was the Mixer contract, but after he came back from Mixer, he had a peak of like 40k on his return stream, and he's been hovering around 10k since. I suppose like some of these stats, if we look at some of these stats, I don't have these statistics. I'm not pulling these numbers. However, when you contrast it with, how well he used to be doing. Only 3,000 active subs? That cannot be right. Oh, 6,458. Okay, paid active subs. Okay. 6,000? That's not that. Wow. That really shows you how volatile the streaming platform is, right? You can have a really great high, but it can definitely be a flash in the pan thing, you know. Oh my god, Queen Simping Mod, how you doing? I am pretty, thank you kindly. Never watched this stuff because it doesn't interest me. You mean Ninja, right? Not Bill Maher, I'm assuming. You're really watching the game, right? You're enjoying the streamer, their banter, their performance. You're only ever watching the game, in my opinion, if it's maybe, let me think. I feel like, what's her name? Casey Explosion isn't really a good example because she's still an engaging personality. She's still fun to watch. But I've noticed, you know, if you want to watch, there are certain streamers you can watch on the platform where their entire thing is, I'm going to play this new game so people who are not familiar with this game, maybe it's a more indie geared stream or whatever, can get a glimpse of something they might be considering buying, you know? And that's, you know, I just spat. Cool. There's that thing. So there are definitely streamers who just play the game. But I think by and large, people come to watch streamers, yes, indeed, because of the personalities. And that's the exact same thing that Bill Maher is doing. That's the exact same thing any Fox News host is doing by and large. That's the exact same thing with a lot of talking head personality types. People are watching personalities on Twitch, largely a younger generation, I would say. And people are watching personalities on television. And they are wasting their time doing so. They are informing their views about the world. They are learning things. They are changing what they're thinking about based on what kind of media they are consuming. You know, if you have a friend who only ever watches Netflix series and doesn't really consume any other media, you know, aside from the music thing, if we come back to that, then, you know, if you engage in conversations with them, they're probably going to ask you, did you watch the latest season of The Mandalorian? And I will say no, because it's still got Gina Carano in it. That's not the reason I haven't watched it yet. I'm just saying. You know, that's the way it is. Yelvo, thank you for the raid.
Welcome,
it's a Hearthstone.
friends.
Yes, I have a Hearthstone. Sorry, I didn't mention that earlier. I like watching the games being played. Some people are just here for that or both. Exactly. Like, you can just watch. I was watching Hometown Green earlier. Thank you for the raid. Oh, hang on. We gotta do the thing. That's the wrong thing. It's not working now. There we go. There we go. Party mode. It's not a fish cake plush, no. However, on the subject, there is a new plush that has joined the fray. Check out my gosh dang redback spider. Oh, I got a redback spider plushie. Look at it. Look at, we got 3 spiders now. This is absolutely poggers. This is the poggest. How you doing, Shade Dragon? Welcome in, Yelville. How did your stream go? Somebody who is a moderator, please give a shout out to Yelville, unless you already did. In which case, I'll stop harassing you. I'm sorry. But, you know, spiders are our bros, not these ones. Redbacks are absolute cunts. However, that's exactly the reason that I wanted it. Everything in Australia is a fucking spider. Welcome to the Rogue Room, Shay. It's the only spider you would. Oh, you know what I would? You know what I really like tarantulas. I really like tarantulas. I own one, but she's a shy little bitch. You're a shy little bitch, and I don't like it. Come out, you tit. Anyway. Yeah, I'm a spider gal. I like spiders a lot, for anyone who missed that. If I was more dedicated to the idea of having a mascot that wasn't my cat, I would probably have a spider theme on this stream. I would do like a goth cobwebs, you know, crawling spider gifs or something. Cute little dancing spider in the corner or something, you know. Played a mix of games, some choose your own adventure RPG, and some party games, and some Sims 4. Sounds fun. Why are your messages great? I don't know. I don't know why your messages would be great. I can see them. You're not banned or timed out or anything. It's weird. Anywho, rogue VTube spider character. Your BF calls you Catwoman because you like cats. I like cats. All right. Let's come back to Bill Maher for a minute. Anyway, there's an article on Dexerto. I'm trying to remember what exact buttons are on my Stream Deck. American comedian and television host Bill Maher decided to take a shot at Twitch viewers during his Real Time with Bill Maher show, leading the gaming community and industry to tear him a new one across social media. And we already discussed that bit. And this, again, comes around to that thing that always comes up. Anytime someone with an audience decides to target a certain group of people, he has to have done this on purpose. He might very well hold this viewpoint, but in his head he was not going, oh yes, I am just, I am right, I have the correct opinion here, I am really, everyone's going to agree with me after this, watching gamers is a waste of time, and everyone's going to be over to my side. No! He knew this would be a divisive statement, absolutely off the bat. He absolutely 100% believed the moment he said this, it would cause outroar, it would cause people like me and other people on social media to trash him, to give him more attention, and to drive viewers to his show. That's all this is about. This is a ratings game. And yes, he is absolutely a boomer. He is making hot takes for views in much the same way people like Candace Owens do hot takes for views, and other bullshit artists like that. Blair White, her whole shtick is hot takes for views. Anyways, although Twitch and gaming continue to grow at a wild pace, the industry can't please everyone, and apparently really can't please Bill Maher or his show's writers. During a recent segment of his talk show, the host took the opportunity to aim his sights at the Twitch streaming world. While discussing technological literacy, this might be where it came from. I think I remember now. Comparing 80-year-olds who can't use phones to younger people who can't get off theirs, Maher turned his attention to Twitch. Okay, here's the clip.
You think someone 80 is hopeless because they can't use an iPhone? Maybe the one who's hopeless is the one who can't stop using it.
I used to like this bit that he does. I used to be one of these people who enjoyed watching Bill Maher because that style of joke. It's like, yeah, like so deep got him. And I'm like, now I find it incredibly cringe. This is the thing. We'll come back to the phone bad thing. Actually, we might as well do it now. Back in, somebody pointed out back in 2003, Bill Maher had a take on smartphones that was like, they're not a Swiss Army knife sort of thing. I forget what his exact take was, but he already had anti-smartphone takes 18 years ago. So here he is, what's the first thing he's talking about? The main subject was 80-year-olds can't use smartphones, and I guess he's going off about how maybe young people are mocking the elderly for not being able to use a smartphone or what have you. And then he attacks the younger crowd for being on their phones all the time. And this is the thing, back in 2003 when the concept of smartphones was sort of gestating, that's when he started to attack the idea. That's when he started. And now his viewpoint has kind of shifted around a little bit. Anyway, Sabercat, I'll come back to your message in a moment. We'll just finish this little segment here.
You think I'm out of it because I'm not on Twitch? Well, maybe I get Twitch, but I just think people watching other people play video games is a waste of fucking time.
See, look at the way that he inflects that there. Is a waste of fucking time. Like he just got this assertion that he's right there. Now, of course, we mentioned earlier that that's the attitude. That's what he wants to put forward. It's not just the words that he is saying, it's the inflection with which he says it. Says it. It's the way in which he puts the message forward that says to his audience, okay, clap now. Do the clap now. It's a waste of time. And then everyone goes, woo! Listen to him. Anyway, yeah. So there's that whole point. Anyway, let's come back a bit. You were a Bill Maher fan till 2012 when he had Benjamin Netanyahu on his show and claimed the genocidal conman was protesting the West from Muslim animals, and you knew this was not true. Bibi uses fear of Muslims, especially the Palestinians, to keep Israel a police state, and used the fear of even centrism to keep any sensible policies off the table, like the fact that no one in Gaza has access to COVID vaccines, which Maher would never approach because he's basically Islamophobic. They have applause signs in a studio. Yeah, this whole thing is a farce. This whole situation is manufactured and produced. The whole concept here is designed to elicit some sort of a reaction beyond the studio, you know? Everyone who's attending the show is in on the gag, basically. In on the gag without being in on the gag. It's Idpol dressed up as a cunty point. Yeah, exactly. He's a total Zionist. I need to look up what a Zionist is. I've heard the term before. What's a book? Father, I cannot click the book. Hey, princesses, how you doing? He doesn't get Twitch. I think he understands the format. I think he understands the broad concept of what Twitch is. You know, yes, watching people playing video games. But I think he's completely missed the point of the fact that people like Ninja. Yes, I'm just going to keep bringing up Ninja because he's the only streamer I can think of at the moment. You know what? Let's bring up some streamers that I'm familiar with. Richie Tooties, Hometown Green that we mentioned earlier, Calgar, Mrs. Lalante, you know, all of these different people that I watch, people that I'm friends with, I watch them because I find them enjoyable, I find their personalities, you know, attractive to watch. I go to them because I find them engaging, you know. It's Pinippy, Pixels Mixel, yeah, exactly. Excessive Profanity, Barjo, you know. That kind of thing. And yeah, like, you're absolutely right, well, every TV show or studio has applause cues. He's not alone on that. And I don't know why I'm breaking down the production of the whole thing. The manufacturing of outrage in this particular circumstance. So the discussion here, yeah, of course, while discussing technological literacy, comparing 80-year-olds who can't use phones to younger people who can't get off theirs. And then we had the clip just there. After complaining about people being on their phone too much... Oh, yeah. Anyways, let's scroll down a little bit. What have I missed here? Okay, so here's an interesting point that is brought up in the article. Retweet if you've ever been more entertained by a Twitch streamer than a shitty late-night talk show. Based on thousands of retweets, it's obvious that a number of people agree with HBox and in their experience have been more entertained by a Twitch streamer than shitty late-night talk hosts. Conversely, another streamer, Glad, took things in a different direction. I'm retiring, boys. It's over. Yeah, he's playing to his audience. Clear the community is not pleased with the host's comments. Yeah, pretty much. One can't help but be reminded of a popular saying that goes for both fans of maher and fans of Twitch. And there's the thing that I mentioned earlier. Time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time. You know? Never let common sense get in the way of a perfectly good opportunity to be outraged. That is perfect. That is perfect, honestly. You're watching Buff Pup play the longest drive, hours of just driving. You're not really watching for the riveting gameplay. I mean, I probably would watch, for example, a streamer playing a really boring game and try to enjoy the gameplay itself based on the virtue that it may be incredibly boring. You know, sort of a punishment viewing, I guess. Pardon me, Bill, but I prefer watching someone who I can talk to than sitting idle as a recording of a Pillock plays. True. Twitch and live streaming in general is an interesting format because live video has been around since, like, what, the 50s? I want to say... Well, how long has TV been around? How long has television, in-home television, been around? 40s, 50s-ish? I think in the 50s it started to take off. And since television has been around, there has been live TV. So there's been a live format where things can go wrong, things are a little bit crazy. But the interesting thing about live streaming, as you've all mentioned, is the interactivity of it. I'm sitting here talking to you, and you're talking back to me. And what that adds a new element. The conversation can change. You know, if we could script an entire hour-long show, for example, and get through that and have all that production value added into it, and scarcely anything will go wrong, everything is properly rehearsed, and yada yada yada. And yeah, radio was around before that. Was there call-in radio? There's an interesting point to make. There's an interesting comparison to make. Was there call-in radio in the pre-TV era? So, you know, there's not... And I mean, obviously, there were stage shows, there were stand-up comedians and things of that nature who would bring people from the audience into the show, and that's always been a thing. Talkback radio, yeah, talkback radio. Was that a thing back in those days, you know, early phone era? So, you know, that's that sort of thing. So it's not like the format of live streaming is a particularly new concept where it's interactive and we can engage with each other. However, I think the way in which we indulge in this particular format, it's like you're chatting to me, I'm talking back to you, we're live on the internet, we've got video, we've got fancy lights, I suppose. You know, War of the Worlds was a radio drama too. Was around since at least 1924, not 1984. So yeah, I guess technically, yeah, the format of interactive media, which is the foundation for Twitch. You know, the interactive media thing is the foundation for Twitch. It is the bricks upon which this platform lays is stuff like that. So, you know, and then you throw the video games into the mix. Let's talk about the entertainment aspect of this kind of thing. So not only do you have someone playing video games, let's just say, for example, you're watching someone for the video game, you enjoy the video game as well, you get the opportunity to talk to the person who is playing the game. Maybe they're better than you at playing the video game. Maybe they can score some sick headshots in Apex Legends, and you're looking for some advice on how to improve your own game. You can now talk to them, and then, you know, actually engage with them on some level. Maybe get some advice from them, maybe talk about the game with them, and all that kind of thing. And then you can go off and indulge in your own gameplay session by yourself, mind your own business. And you know, watching that live stream has given you more value than just sitting there watching Bill Maher real time. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. Anywho's, I was wondering yesterday if there were people who viewed FDR's fireside chats like we did Trump's constant tweeting. I dare say probably. I don't know. That's interesting. War of the Worlds calls people to call up governments to see if it was real. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, was FDR in any capacity similar to Donald Trump in terms of his behavior? Was originally read by H.G. Wells on the radio himself. You think so? Anywho, the ABC now has a video from Four Corners about gaming. Are you being played? Can just imagine an older person who isn't a gamer to write a story on gaming actually. I did see the game knows more about you than you do is a thing that I did want to touch on. It is the Four Corners thing. I didn't see the video though. Hello Noctane, how you doing? At any rate, you know, the Bill Maher thing. Thank you for the posture check. I am slouching. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, the Bill Maher thing, yeah, it all comes around to just him generating outrage at a group that his audience more than likely already disagrees with. The concept of gamers. The gamers. You know, is an Islamophobe who literally said the N-word on his TV shows. Yeah, he's trying to be unlikable. His idea is that there are a lot of people like him out there online who have this viewpoint on the world of like, I don't care if you don't like what I have to say. You know, I'm uncancelable. I don't care. I'm edgy and I'll say what I feel like. And it's just an asinine attitude because they're looking for a reason to denigrate someone. They're looking for a reason to insult somebody and have their audience hoot and holler at it. That's really all it is. And that's what it was with the Twitch thing. That's invariably what it was with the N-word thing, you know. One of his topics is being politically incorrect. Yeah, it is exhausting. It's basically just drama, yeah. As if being a twat is something to be proud of. And that's the thing. People who think like he does are not few and far between. They are very common, and they are genuinely proud of it. See the tweet that I posted yesterday, or the day before. Where's my media tweets? With not the photo of my ass, which looks amazing. No, this thing. I posted this. Jacob August, welcome to the Rogue Room. I posted this. Facebook repeat offender. So he's been banned from Facebook a few times, this person, who I'm not going to reveal their name. If you came here for PC bullshit, then you've come to the wrong place. And I don't know what FW stands for. But that's really what it is. It's like they see anyone who, and I just tag this, just say you're a racist and go. These kinds of people get off on the idea of upsetting someone. Final warning. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. What are you going to do? Oh, no. Final warning. Ooh, scary. Fuckwad or something. He certainly seems like a fuckwit. And that's the objective. Is they see someone who they think is being ridiculous for some reason, in some way, shape, or form. They see someone as being ridiculous, and they just cannot keep that to themselves. They cannot mind their own business because hating on something is a part of their personality that they haven't replaced with something a little bit nicer, like, say, watching someone play Stardew Valley for 8 hours on end. I would rather engage with someone who genuinely enjoys just watching Stardew Valley chill playthroughs than listen to more of Bill Maher's bullshit. Anywho. Had to follow a fellow transistor. Your mum is a judge and is terrible at social media, so her family's clients track down and abuse us all. Oh my gosh. What? That sounds awful. Is it safe to assume someone's a boomer if they still say PC culture? Arguably. You know. Bill Maher is male Madonna saying edgy things when he's 66 years old, much like Ricky Gervais, who shocks people, but really when you look at these boring old has-beens, you think, dude, just retire and let someone living in this country, living in this century, take that TV spot. 14 apples is fine. 23 liters of milk is a bit much, yeah. This is the thing, right? People like Bill Maher, people like Ricky Gervais, people who are being edgy and are bucking the PC culture. We mentioned this before when we talked about that comedian. They think that they are rebelling against this newfangled world that we live in, where the majority are all PC and queer and people of color, and all of this trend toward acceptance is somehow extremely normalized, and they think that they just refuse to be a part of the new status quo. But the reality of the situation is they are still the status quo. The people who are constantly refusing and rebuking progress are doing so in favor of a system that continues to, stall that progress, essentially. You know, commentators like Bill Maher and, like Ricky Gervais and all these kinds of people, they are part of a system that doesn't want to see society move forward. They would rather mock it, deride it, and tell their audience to hate it just as much as they do. That's the bit. And it works really well. A lot of these reactionary commentators have extremely successful careers because there's a lot of people that think like they do. There's a lot of people that do not like the idea of progress. Anyway. Their wages pay their coke habits. Should stick to making comedy series. What I've seen of his comedy series are not bad. So what happens when you have the has-beens who are so isolated from society that they feel the insufferable need to look down their nose at people? Yeah, well, exactly. I get the suspicion, you know, and we see this same kind of thing every so often from streamers as well, from big streamers as well, who have, they're in their 20s, maybe 30s, or younger, and they have this attitude of, like, it's not the exact same kind of thing, but they have this attitude towards smaller streamers. They'll inform an attitude on smaller streamers of, how much small streamers complain about viewers and all of this kind of nonsense. And then it's essentially, this person, Shroud, for example. I don't know if Shroud has said anything like this, but I'm just using him as an example. Their attitude is, oh, those smaller streamers, all they do is complain all the time. Imagine if they hustled hard and put in the work and all that. Imagine where they'd be today. Not realizing that they blew up purely by chance. It's a lottery. Or they just knew people, they had connections to get them to where they are. It's the same kind of thing. It's people that have already got all of the privilege and all the power complaining about people that don't. And cycling back around to the watching people on Twitch thing, maybe the reason a lot of people are watching Twitch is because they simply can't afford to buy and play the video games that they're watching on different people's channels. Maybe they want to watch somebody who's got an awesome skin that costs $100 in a fucking battle royale. I don't know. You get where I'm getting at. Being gay isn't a personality said by internet/TV edgelords who make being anti-PC their whole personality. I know, it's ridiculous. They're hypocrites. A lot of the bigger OCE streamers, really? Well, that's great. Definitely shitty and punching down, and sort of, I've got mine, so piss off. Literally it, yes. It's ridiculous. PC culture has gone too far. Checks topic. It's the most remote issue they feel the need to blow up. Isaac Butterfield, I feel my comedy tastes have changed as I've started reading more in general. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Shelley kept me in the closet forever, and it wasn't even from people who probably felt that way, but rather just parrot those talking points. And yeah, ultimately that's it. A lot of people just find a particular personality that they really resonate with, they really enjoy, and they start to inform their viewpoints based purely on what that person said. By the way, Buckshot, welcome to the Rogue Room. How you doing? Anyways, I'm putting my spider away. I'm putting my red back away. My red back has been put away. Call someone who deals with cats. I watch streamers who play games I can't afford to play yet. Or just like, you know, there are a lot of streamers I watch where the other reason I watch them, well, not the only reason, I enjoy their streams. But there's a few people who I do watch where it's like they're playing a game I'm not playing and I'm not interested in playing it, but it's fun to watch them play it. You know? And that's free. I don't have to subscribe, but you should if you're not subscribed already. Hit that sub button. You know, I feel no compulsion to buy that game. However, there are people who will watch a streamer play a game they've never played before. And they might be compelled to do so. You know? It's a whole thing. If people are playing a new game, I can see some gameplay. Yeah, exactly. You can get a feel for if the game is right for you, if you think it's, you know, high quality enough. And the way people with big platforms ignore others all the time and only associate with people that are bigger than them or the little squad of people that will rate each other. Yeah, I've seen that too. The streaming community is very cliquey. It's very, very cliquey. It's a lot of people, you know, there's, like you've mentioned, there's certain groups who will only interact with each other, you know. I've noticed there's a few Twitch teams like that as well, where it's like the only reason the team exists is so that a few streamers can be, you know, a few streamers, but they're all just like close IRL friends or something like that, which is its own thing. That's fine, you know. But there is definitely an air of clickiness among the content creation community. There's a lot of competitiveness. There's a lot of people who only think about themselves and focus on using every manipulative avenue they can to get ahead in the streaming game, and regrettably, it tends to work. And Jim Jeffries and Frankie Boyle are far more edgy and hilarious than they are weekend golfer millionaires like Maher or Gervais, which is really why they hate PC culture, is because they feel left out, mainly because when you're a millionaire, you can't talk about your hard life today, as it's not hard. Yeah, ultimately, that's a lot of people. I've noticed that's a lot of people who've got excess amounts of privilege. Think of the TERF thing. It's a lot of rich white women who don't have any real issues, so they get angry at trans women acting like we're going to steal their uteruses or something. Nonsense. You watch people play Ark because you would have to buy a whole ass computer to be able to play it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There are myriad reasons why you would watch a streamer. You know? If it's a fucking waste of time, then let people enjoy that. It's none of your business. You know? And Jim's pretty great. Imagine TERFs trying to gatekeep real womanhood. I really want to do a stream where we look more deeply into TERFs and understand some of their ideology. I know the surface level shit, you know, but I'd like to go onto various TERFy locations and take down some notes, because there's a video I want to do that focuses specifically on them, and I think what I'm going to start doing is we'll start doing research streams for my video essays. You know, that's a thing that I would like to do. I'd like to, because I've got a video essay coming up. I just sent the script to a friend to give me a few pointers, and their advice has really helped, so I think I'm going to be recording that video soon. I've got to figure out exactly how I'm going to do it. But at any rate, also I haven't played an ad, goddammit. TERF go brr. Have an appointment this week with the hospital to have your uterus removed. Wow. I didn't realize they could actually remove the whole uterus. I thought they just did something to prevent you being able to get pregnant. Want to know what the fuck is the TERF motivation? It's not typical anti-gay homophobia, which seems to stem a lot on toxic masculinity. It, honestly, a lot of the TERF mindset, the TERF manifesto, tends to stem from the idea that trans women, by and large, TERFs see it as another extension of the patriarchy. They see it as, you know, generally speaking, perverted men trying to usurp the form of the woman. That's the general idea that I've been able to glean. Orihun Paradox, welcome to the Rogue Room. The only way I've seen story content in Ark is via private server streams. Did I ever watch Jim Jeffrey? I did watch that one, yes. the Peterson interview. That was fucking great. When you look at comedians and political commentators, you look at the topic and see if they're blowing it out of proportion or if they're actually trying to explain their thinking behind the chosen topic. That's what I tend to do. You know, I don't generally, and in the case of Bill Maher, of course, I'm talking trash on him because his idea is stupid, but I do like the idea of exploring the concept that's being discussed more than trashing on the person. You know, that's what I would prefer. Tubal ligation and hysterectomy are getting one's tubes tied and having the uterus removed respectively. Oh, okay. There we go. I am uninformed about this, but now I am informed. So it's like the one thing I have that can't be taken from me now. Men are even sticking their noses in here. Pretty much. That's the idea. And then, yeah, TERFs think trans men are misdirected lesbians, sisters. I don't know about anybody else, but I've never seen a lesbian with a beard, and most of the trans men that I've seen have beards. Have some sort of facial hair situation going on. Most of them. Not all of them, obviously. You know, trans men can present however they want to, but I've seen a lot of trans men who grow full-blown beards. You know, it's... I'd struggle to call that a lesbian. You know, just generally speaking. And then, I don't really want to bring this guy up because in the same vein as... Caitlyn Jenner, I've forgotten his fucking name. You know, Buck Angel. You know? You look at a picture of Buck Angel and you tell me that's a confused lesbian. You know? You look at Buck Angel and tell me that's a confused lesbian. Right? It's stupid. TERFs also feel like trans women are degrading the female gender, like they don't want to be associated with that or perceived as a man because of trans women. Since it's our own fault, obviously not the fault of the transphobes. And who wouldn't if you had never been able to before? Beards were the only good thing about presenting male. I mean, fair point. You can have a good beard. I can appreciate good facial hair. I don't want any. You're already sus. I mean, that username though. What's up, mama? How you doing? Similarly, tits are great. You know, having those are good. Can you imagine if it was like, just tits? Never mind. I'm not even going to go into the rest of that thought. Just tits. You just said good day. Well, that's kind of great. It's been a good day. It's been a good day for me, honestly. How's it been for you? You've known some TERFs, the ones you happen to know were deep into Marx, and because of pre-existing transphobia, I imagine, really latched onto his idea that pregnancy was a form of class suppression. Not even sure where they read that in Marx, if it exists anywhere in there. And obviously plenty of cis women can't get pregnant, exactly. And the thing about the gender discussion specifically is that Marx really didn't talk about gender. It wasn't really a concept he touched on. It's also easier to attack a group that is already so marginalized, oppressed, and hated for, let alone existing, than attacking transphobes. Noctane, thank you for giving a heck. We don't say good day anymore, we just scream at each other. Muffled screaming. Oh, anywho. You mentioned this earlier. Actually, I'm going to run an ad break now because we forgot to run another ad break, so just give me a second while I run another ad break really quickly. And then we can get back into things. Anywho's. Yeah, people will find any reason to justify their pre-existing beliefs. They will. Internal screaming takes off headphones. Everybody just scream. If you don't want to watch ads, you should hit that subscribe button because, again, I've lost a whole chunk of subs from gift subs running out. We're down to 153. It's pitiful. Look at it. Look at that number. I was over 200 recently. Capital Volume 4 was going to be about gender. Wing, thank you for the follow. I didn't realize you weren't following. I've seen you in here before. Oh, welcome to the Rogue Room. Excuse me. This is what happens when I drink decaf. I don't have any energy to continue doing things. I'll be okay, though. I'll be okay. I am managing fine. Never get ads on the stream. It's a guaranteed sub each month. Fantastic. Your ads are in German. Marx knew the forced feminization of humanity was inevitable, says so in his notes. What is the point of decaf? If you like the taste of coffee, and you don't want to drink actual coffee anymore. Because, I mean, it's still got a minor amount of caffeine in it, like 5 milligrams, but the human body is only the human body caps out at about 400 milligrams, and it tends to, after that point, you're doing some damage to yourself if you keep drinking more and more caffeine. So it's good for people who have a bit of a coffee habit and want to keep drinking it. Yes, I do enjoy the taste of coffee, shut up. But they don't want to run the risk of, causing heart damage or things like that. You can hear again, yay! Some people are caffeine sensitive or don't want to drink it. Yeah, that too. Like the smell of coffee. It's weird, I like the smell of coffee from like a barista cafe, sort of like, or a coffee stand or a coffee van or whatever. But then, you get the actual coffee and it's good, but it's not as good as the smell of the coffee being made. I don't know what it is. Hate it. Anyway. There is coffee ice cream. Half coffee, half oat milk. I have not tried it. I'll have to give that a go. Always drink decaf before bed because warm drinks are comfy. That's a thing too. It's like you get a tiny, like less than 5 milligrams of caffeine. It's not going to do anything to you. Yeah, the smell is inferior to the taste. Really? Wish they made regular cola without caffeine. There is caffeine-free Coke. I know that much. But yeah, it would be nice to have like some of the other variants of Coke or Pepsi or whatever without the caffeine in it, so you can avoid that. You mean superior? Oh, okay. Quite a few trans male porn stars now in the more kinky area of porn. You've never been a fan of lesbian porn unless it's the wrestling leading to sex like Ultimate Surrender. Oh my god, I'm familiar with that. 65%. Okay. You actually measured your sexuality? You can do that? I mean, you do like a tomboys or kinky yourself, you just find knobs more sexy due to their cause and effect action. Interesting. Feel that you're a barista and the smell is far more appealing than the espresso. Not to say you hate the smell and taste of espresso. Yeah, I don't know what it is. But like the smell of fresh ground coffee beans or whatever it is just leagues better than the actual taste of the coffee. It's incomparable. I don't know how you would manage to make a coffee that tastes quite like the smell of it. Nano Icy, welcome to the Rogue Room. And I've tried making stronger coffee. I've tried using different coffee. Nothing works, man. Nothing works. It's not the same. Sly Frostpole, welcome to the Rogue Room. Let's try something else, though. Measure one's sexuality like the Kinsey scale. Is that a real thing? Shout out to my exact 3S with no gender preference. 3S? I have no idea what the Kinsey scale is. Probably a mixture of a few things here and there. Wouldn't be surprised if it was intentional to keep you hooked to the addiction in a cup that is Coca-Cola. Well, true. If you get addicted to caffeine, then it's easier for you to justify buying a Coke. Because, you don't have to wait for a Coke. You can just go to the shop and buy a Coke. If you want to make a coffee, you got to either brew it yourself or you got to go to a barista and wait for it to be made. If you get hooked on caffeine and Coke is right there, you can just grab a can or bottle of Coke out of the fridge at the supermarket. All of a sudden, you're good to go. So that and the sugar, makes it really easily addictive. Really do enjoy iced coffee though. Yeah, I like iced coffee. There's a brand called Boss Coffee that has a canned black coffee, which is fucking incredible. I love it. Here's a way to gauge where you fit on the gay-straight scale. 0 completely straight, 6 completely gay, 1 to 5 is various leanings of bisexual. Oh, I see. And doesn't account for asexuality or romantic attraction. Yeah, sexuality is much more of a spectrum than it is a point-to-point scale. I feel like it's a bit, biased in its own ways. By the sounds of it. If it's just point-to-point, a straight line. Or is it a gay line? Depends where you sit on it. Getting the specific taste of espresso is a science. Ooh. I've thought about trying barista work. Anywho, it's a curved line. You mentioned this, who mentioned this game thing? Inside Gaming Sneaky Tactics. This was a thing that somebody brought up a minute ago. It's this little thing that came up on the ABC's website. And what I gleaned of it from a glance, was that it was going to talk about predatory tactics in the games industry. Let's have a look. Welcome to the game. You are now one of millions of Australians who play video games every day. Like this game, many are free to play, but include repeated prompts to pay. Gaming is a global business worth around US $175 billion. That's more than Hollywood and the music industry combined. As business booms, so does competition for your attention and money. We're going to show you how some games are being deliberately designed to extract maximum time and money. Need more gems? Do I click on it? Or do I just keep going down? Persuading players to pay for advantages or extra features is a part of the gaming business model. You are being offered a certain color or type of weapon because an algorithm has made a prediction about how you might behave within the game. Some games can scrape your social media data and work out, for example, which sports teams you support, and then offer you items in the team's colors. I haven't specifically heard of a game that does that, but if anyone has one as a suggestion. You decide to buy the mid-range weapon. That's likely because there is a deliberately overpriced weapon to skew your perception of value. Yeah, AAA games and mobile games are the most egregious. Did someone say James Stephanie Sterling? Yeah, this is like, can I do anything or is it just a video? This is particularly like, what is this, late stage capitalism or something? This is the utmost extreme, you know? Create something that people enjoy and then monetize the living fuck out of it. Payments like this, often made using an invented in-game currency, are called microtransactions or in-game purchases. It's how 3/4 of all gaming revenue is made, about US $117 billion per year. But these predatory techniques have experts and some gamers pushing back. And there's an article here. Okay, here we go. Shall we talk about this? Shall we read this? Love the Williams Arcade samples in this song. What song is this? This is Notice Me by Harris Heller. Unless the website's playing a song and I can't hear it. In late 2020, Four Corners launched a crowdsourced investigation into video gaming and received more than 3,000 responses. Many gamers told us how much they enjoyed playing, but others raised concerns about how focused gaming had become on profiting from them. Games played on mobiles, consoles, and computers have become extremely sophisticated, often with artificial intelligence and data collection built into the platform. Gaming researchers are warning that gamers often don't know how much the game is actually playing them. Yeah, are they seriously explaining microtransactions? It's good, but they are late to the party on this one, yes. But I suppose, you know, people who are regularly watching ABC, regularly tuning into the ABC website, may not be aware of this. And there may be certain parents who are not aware of the games their kids might be playing on phones or whatever, and might not understand just how deep and intricate this goes. Gonna jump off your backs, killing me, so you're gonna pop a couple of painkillers and get some shut-eye. Sounds good, Festa. Have a good rest. Gaming researchers are warning that gamers often... Oh yeah, we've read that bit. Many of these games are using machine learning. They're tracking what players are doing using people's information and within their social network to make very strong predictions about how people will behave, said Daniel King, a clinical psychologist from Flinders University. Microtransactions started appearing in games in the mid-2000s, encouraging people to repeatedly make small purchases to keep them involved. The mid-2000s are like what? Are they saying 2005 and such? Of the 20... when did microtransactions start to crop up? When did they actually start to crop up? Because I remember seeing them for the first time and being distinctly worried that eventually we would face the kind of thing we're facing now. Big AAA games on home consoles and PC are doing the exact same thing that mobile games were doing that kicked off this whole thing. Of the 20 highest selling console and computer games in Australia last year, 18 included some kind of microtransaction. First sort of mainstream console micro was Horse Armor. Yeah, that was like $26, wasn't it? Ridiculous. Parents only know about microtransactions from watching BBC and reading the Telegraph. Brain isn't being nice, so Radio Vagabond, have a good one. Try to get some rest or turn your brain off somehow. Don't think you saw microtransactions as being a thing until your first experience with free-to-play mobile games. Well, yeah, that's where it sort of originated. You know, smartphones began to take off. There were games... There were phones that were not smartphones prior to the smartphone boom, I guess. There were phones that could play games. The N-Gage stands out in my mind. But yeah, like once smartphones really started to take off, it became very easy for these games on these systems to incorporate this kind of thing. Because the idea, of course, was that you would have your smartphone on you at all times, and maybe you commute to work on the train or something, so you'd sit, you'd entertain yourself by opening up a game on your phone and you'd play it for a bit. But then they realized, oh, well, we can't let people just play this game for hours on end if we're giving it away for free. We got to monetize it somehow, so let's put in something that's really small that they can buy and is repeatable, because most people, generally speaking, I would imagine, are not going to look at, a $50, $60, $70 price tag on a game on their phone and think that's a worthwhile investment. That's why it was so easy to put microtransactions into mobile games, because you've already got the game, you start enjoying the game, and you say to yourself, well, I enjoyed the game enough, why not throw a couple of bucks at it to support the developers, or whatever kind of nonsense. Free-to-play MMOs on PC was the first use of microtransactions. This is proof. Capitalism innovate. If you call this innovation, don't think you can innovate to be more predatory? They definitely can. They haven't stopped. Anyways, so yeah, Korean MMOs were based on paying for premium currency, which is the main thing at the moment, yeah. Every invention or anything creative, it's art, music, etc., will fall victim to corporate greed. Yeah, inevitably. It's hard to avoid it. The in-game currency trick. Student and mother of two cat McDonald started playing the free-to-play mobile phone strategy game Legend of the Phoenix, and they've all got such generic names too. This is why I gatekeep mobile gaming. During the COVID lockdown, players take the role of a young courtesan and complete quests to move up the social hierarchy. Once the kids went to sleep, I wanted to find something to play around with, she said. Just felt really good to be at the top of something because of that time of my life. COVID was a really sad time for a lot of people. It felt nice to be actually succeeding in something. The more she spent on Legend of the Phoenix, the further she advanced. She bought the in-game currency called ingots to spend on outfits and boost her character's power. Dr. King said in-game currencies were used as a tactic to get players to spend more money than they realize. The intent behind an in-game currency is to change the psychological value of money that's being spent on the game, he told Four Corners. Game developers will sometimes use multiple currencies to make it difficult for players to keep track of how much they're spending. 1 minute's 2 left. Welcome to the Rogue Room. How you doing? They disguise or mislead the player about how much money they actually need to spend in the long term until they're already committed into the game. Kat became so immersed in the game she lost track of how much she spent on multiple small purchases. I had thought that it was around the $2,500 mark. I wasn't sure how to work out an itemized account because on your bank account it just says Apple. I sat down with a notepad and pen and read out every single transaction, and it added up to $4,000. Yeah, sunk cost fallacy, exactly. Is it a fallacy, though? That's the thing. We say the term, what does it mean in the context of this? The sunk cost fallacy. Like, the idea is psychologically you've spent a lot of money on a thing, thus you feel like you can't give it up. What's the fallacy, though, part of that, is what I'm not understanding. I don't quite get that bit. Such a huge issue with those predatory tactics. They prey upon vulnerable people like people with depression who feel like nothing is going well. So at least in a game, they're doing great for themselves. Yes, exactly, 100%. And if I had the opportunity, I would say to these people, and there are games like, as we're being described here, I guess, that are pay once and you just get to keep playing it forever and don't pay for anything. I mean, there are a lot of people who I think would get sucked into these mobile games and they could just literally play Stardew Valley. There are a lot of, remember when Farmville was popular? Ages and ages ago. Also, if you do catch a clip-worthy moment, like the bot says, press the clip button on the screen to take a clip and then share it in the Discord or on Twitter and tag me. If I say something funny, which I do a lot, that's what it's called. I've spent so much on this, if I give up now, all of the money I've spent will be for nothing. It's a fallacy because if you just cut and run, you won't be encouraged to spend any more time and money, and you could save that time and money for literally anything else. Yeah. It's supposed to highlight diminishing returns as you continue to invest more and more. Absolutely. Yes. Fallacy is that the initial investment shouldn't necessarily influence your willingness to invest further. I still don't think I'm getting it. In the same vein, I've spent thousands and thousands on World of Warcraft over the years. I am glad I gave that up. I'm glad I stopped spending money on that. Because, I've got an account that's got a bunch of, high-level characters. It's got a bunch of in-game cosmetic things and all that sort of stuff. And I'm glad I gave that up. It really is such a negative, draining thing. And it makes it incredibly difficult to save, too. These predatory tactics prey on people who do not have a lot of money. And then they can't save for things they need. It's only an issue because there are games with one-time purchases. Yeah, WoW Pets. Yeah. Excuse me. I mean, there are things that apply to this very same problem in real life. You know, I have a bit of a clothing problem at the moment. I will admit this. I've spent more money than I need to on clothes because I'm rediscovering myself. Shut the fuck up. However, I found a number of really cool clothing sites where they've got a bunch of awesome stuff, and then there's things like Afterpay, where I can pay a quarter of the cost now and a quarter of the cost in 2 weeks, and then on until it's paid off. And that's its own type of predatory practice, wherein, you know, I'm not paying that much money to buy this new shirt, but that'll just make me justify in my head, well, I could go buy another shirt now and pay a quarter of the price. I could go buy these pants, I could buy these shoes. And it's kind of in the same area. And especially gaming, thank you for the host, by the way. Especially in the realm of, say, fast fashion. You know, there's the idea that you go onto certain websites and there's just clothes upon clothes upon clothes, and they're really cheap, but they'll be out of stock really soon, so you gotta buy them now, kind of thing. You know, the sunk cost fallacy is when you keep trying to make fetch a thing. You were with an ex-GF for years when Farmville was popular, and her mother wanted your FB password to play Farmville on your account, and when you refused, she tried to guilt trip you, like, don't you trust me? Don't you want to have a great farm? I promise I won't post anything or look at your messages. What the fuck? That is so... Don't try to invade another person's social media space. Holy shit. Cape problem. Yeah, I'm going to end up buying like 7 capes. Used to spend too much on clothes and makeup too. At least like with my makeup, I don't buy a lot of makeup. I have a routine that I generally tend to follow. You know, maybe layaway would be a better plan. It basically is the thing. It basically is layaway, but it's automatic. Or we call it lay-by in Australia. And you get to take the item with you, is the problem. Is you get to buy a thing now, and you get to pay it off in small amounts, much like you would lay-by, but at the end of a lay-by, you go pick the item up after having paid it off, whereas with Afterpay and similar services, you pay a bit now, you get the item, and it keeps taking the money out of your account until the item is paid off. It's meant to be customer friendly, but not if you have a spending problem. And a lot of things like this kind of thing are designed to facilitate, like the microtransactions thing, they are designed to facilitate a spending problem. In which I mean, there might be people who do not already have a spending problem, but these kinds of things allure you into developing one, and then that spirals from there. At least you could sell the item afterwards, I suppose. It's a zero interest loan. Essentially, yes. But, you know, we have certain terminologies for it, so we might as well use them. Where were we? So she spent $4,000. She said the realization was mind-blowing. I felt a little bit sick. I felt a bit scared to tell my husband because we share funds in our house. I felt that was money that the family could have spent, and I hadn't even noticed that I'd spent anywhere near that much. To add on to this, you know, using an Apple phone, an iPhone, or a Google phone, or whatever, an Android, a lot of them will ask you to input your card details into the App Store on whatever phone you're using and save those details. And it makes it that much easier when you're playing these games to just click on the button that gives you the gems or whatever. And you don't have to go in and put your card details in again because it's already saved them. You just press the button. And you think to yourself, $2.50, who cares? $10, who cares? Just press the button. And all of a sudden you got all these gems that you can spend on a fucking new skin for your Raid Shadow Legends character. They make it as easy as fucking possible for you to go broke. Right? Anyways, Kat said she realized she was being manipulated by the game, but I was still participating because it was still... But I was still participating because it was still giving me that dopamine rush, she said. And you're like, well, that was money well spent. It's not really. In 2019, Australians spent close to $3.2 billion on video gaming. And I think what's worse about this is this worse or is this better? It's kind of like the NFTs thing at the moment. People are spending ridiculous amounts of money on something that doesn't even really exist in a physical sense. And that's kind of what's happening here. People are sinking loads of money into these games for something that, like my World of Warcraft account, I can't physically interact with that in any way unless I pay more money to go back and log back into it. But let's just say, for example, the game she's playing ends up not being profitable anymore, which, you know, haha, yeah, right, okay. But let's just say, for example, they decide to shut the game down, and the thousands of dollars that lots of people have spent on these games is just gone. It's just evaporated. They've got nothing to show for it, you know? Terrible with money, because I want my life to be as enjoyable as I can on the small budget I have. Not being able to buy soft drinks when I want sucks, let alone everything else I can't afford. Yeah. Managed to spend $5,000 on War Thunder. Jesus Christ. It is psychologically manipulative. It's designed to put the idea in your head that it's fine. It's totally fine. It's just a little bit of money. Even more convenient is when you add it to your phone contract bill. Exactly. Yes. A lot of times we're also made to believe we're part of something if we buy this, or others see more of a worth in us if we buy that. Yeah. So what did gaming say? What did Three Bears say? Hang on, let me see what the response was. Where there are so many things we really don't need to spend on, but are pushed into in all sorts of ways. Yeah, what you've said there, Phenomenon. We're part of something if we buy this, or others see more of a worth in us if we buy that. That comes back around to the bullying thing that's been happening to kids in schools who are playing like Fortnite or Apex or whatever. It's become a thing to insult children on the playground, like kids insulting other kids on the playground, by calling them a default skin. Because they don't have a skin in Fortnite, or just insulting them in general. You know, they call them a default skin because they haven't spent the money to buy one of them epic skins. They didn't buy the Fortnite currency to buy Iron Man or whatever they've got, because Fortnite is just a platform for tons of different franchises to cross over at this point. You know? G Cute the Gays, welcome. Oh, I see what you're getting there. G Cute. And I read that as a neo pronoun, not as execute. I read that as a neo pronoun. Default is such a harsh concept. I use it to refer to, like, the status quo man, white, cisgender, heterosexual, probably Christian by and large. You know, if I refer to the default character, that's what I'm referring to, you know. I like to use that as an insult. However, you know, when we're referring to actual default characters, people that look like the Fortnite default character, you know, because, you know, there people like James Smith, for example. Somebody ban this cunt for me, please. No 3-strike rule for this one. People that look like this fucking wanker, right? You know, people that just actually legitimately look like this. And then have the gall to complain about things that they're absolutely privileged about. But yeah, when kids are doing it on the playground, they're doing it directly to each other, and they're using cyberbullying these days, social media and things of that nature, to actively and aggressively attack another kid on the playground. And kids will find anything that they can to bring down other kids, because they're just competitive little shits. Thanks for the hydration. Was that Gordon Ramsay? I don't know. No, oh, yeah, it does look like Gordon Ramsay, doesn't it? It shows gore on YouTube, really? Not the volume bottle. Anyways, let's continue. Let's read a bit more of this. So she spent about 4,000. Kat had said she had realized she was being manipulated by the game, but I was still, yeah, we read that bit. Ron Curry, who represents the Australian game development and publishing industry, IGEA, said it was hard to enforce spending warnings within all games. With the array of games and publishers and different actors within the market, there will always be those who aren't probably as upfront as they should be. Did anyone report that account? Yeah, report that account too. Vodka bottle caught you off guard. It's a thing. How you doing, Astro, by the way? Pay to win or skip. You can either wait for your oxygen to refill, or you can pay to move ahead in the game instantly, also known as pay to win. Video games have evolved from, and this is the thing, like, before we get into this, I want to talk about the pay to win thing. I want to talk about the pay to win mechanic, the pay to win concept. A lot of people associate this idea of pay to win as, I'm going to play a competitive shooter, and I can pay money to have a higher chance to get a better gun, right? Which actually legitimately kind of was a thing in Battlefront 2 for a while until they patched it out. However, in the case of AAA games like Battlefront 2 and Fortnite, Apex, etc., it's not so much the idea of paying to win as it is the idea of paying to have a nicer skin. You spend more money on, like, let's just say you're in Overwatch, you're paying for loot boxes, and you get one of those legendary skins. You now have the capacity to demoralize your opponent by virtue of, hey, look, my skin's cooler than yours. You know, that's a thing. So, mainstream console and PC competitive games, by and large, do not have what a lot of people misinterpret as pay-to-win mechanics. That's misleading. However, in the case of mobile games, what we see here, as has been outlined in this part, you know, if you die at a certain point, you can pay to skip the waiting period to get ahead in your game. Or if you're, like, you know, you're playing an RTS strategy game, you want to build a building, you can spend X amount of gems or whatever the fuck to buy a, to buy a speed booster. Or, you know, Assassin's Creed with its speed boosters. We don't have Bill Maher on. I'm more entertaining than Bill Maher. Why use default and insult? It's to get people, mainly young people, to peer pressure to other people to buy the skins. Like your business studies teacher said, never underestimate the strength of pester power. Yeah. Doing just fine. Sorry, I only just hopped in the stream right now. Currently having dinner together with a trans streamer friend of yours outside. Ooh. Suffered a bit from eating spicy food. Oh, no. So I get the Super Rumble Galaxy skin because it was the best skin out of the lot back when you were playing League of Legends. It's not even just competitive games these games. Yeah, like, yes, the buy XP thing, as I was about to mention with Assassin's Creed. It's got this really big problem, and they keep fucking doing it. People were expecting that they wouldn't do this with Valhalla, and they did. Ubisoft creates games that are designed to feel grindy, so that later on they can patch in an XP buying store, basically. They will literally make the game so slow and tedious to get through the content that they will put in items you can buy with real world money that allow you to either A, speed boost your character's XP gain, experience gain, or B, you know, you can buy in-game currency to buy items. And it's like literally a single player game, and that's not even a justification, honestly, for the microtransactions. But it's another way of nickel and diming the player base, and it's already unjustifiable in a multiplayer game. It definitely I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of the word. It's certainly already an issue in a multiplayer game to do that. But then to put that into a single player game is just significantly worse. You know, we've come to expect, and this is the problem, is this stuff, while we are seeing it rapidly increase, it's still gradual. It's not in every game yet. But there's going to be a point, and my kids are experiencing this now, where there is the notion of you can buy something in this game. You've already bought the game, now you can buy something in the game as well. That is going to be completely normal to them. When I was a kid, you bought a game and you had the game, you had the product, that was it, that was done. And don't use the excuse with me. Okay, don't give me the bullshit excuse. Games are more expensive these days. They don't need to be. They definitely do not need to be more expensive these days. There are plenty of incredibly well-made games that are on an exceptionally low budget. Made on an exceptionally low budget. You know, they just keep finding every single possible avenue they can to justify the notion of putting more transactions in games to milk more money out of people. Assassin's Creed, you could just buy XP or XP boosts. I think one of the Lord of the Rings games did it too, probably. Expansion packs that actually expanded the game. I know, crazy. Like, I feel like From Software is one of the last studios that actually does that anymore. Bloodborne's DLC? Anyways, where were we? Got off on a bit of a tangent there. Video games have evolved from shorter, more contained experiences into much longer game worlds that often encourage people to keep playing for very long periods of time. This includes characters doing the same tasks over and over again. It's called grinding. Repetitive play required to progress through some games. In some instances, players are offered the option of paying real money to get through parts of the game more quickly or easily. Rob Lemming has been gaming his entire life. His name is Lemming. His name is Lemming. I shouldn't be laughing at that, but his name is Rob Lemming. Has been gaming his entire adult life. The pay-to-win model is pretty much as it sounds, that two people can play and they can follow the same set of rules of progression to get better, he said. Or you or me could just spend some money then and there and get all the advantages that come with having progressed. He used to be hooked, losing himself for weeks in blockbuster games like World of Warcraft and Assassin's Creed. I would wake up, I would do essentially the basics, borderline get dressed if I had to, put a bit of food in my belly, definitely make a coffee, usually a strong one, and sit down and start playing, he said. At that point on, everything in the day revolved around the game. Okay, we'll come back to this in a moment. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to take a leak. I'm going to run an ad again. My day is going well, Catalina. How you doing? And anyone saying prices haven't risen in 30 years is also wrong. Paying $70 doesn't get you the whole game anymore. You need to buy the highest price version to get everything, costing upwards of $150. Yeah. Anyways, Bethesda regularly pumps out the worst DLC. Hey, now, listen. Skyrim is a very basic bitch game, but I will have to give credit where credit is due to Dragonborn. That was a phenomenal DLC. Anyways, we're not going to talk about Fallout. Jesus Christ, we'll be here all night. I'll be right back. Here's an ad break. Don't go away, folks. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. If you are not already subscribed, please consider subscribing to support the channel so you can skip the ad breaks, which are already on, so you're not hearing this message anyway. Be kind to yourselves and each other. I'll be back in a moment with an extra strong decaf coffee. Alrighty, I am back. I have returned. That wasn't all that long, honestly. How's it going, folks? Guess what I got? Guess what I have? I have Lindt 99% cacao dark chocolate. This is not sweet. It is an acquired taste. And I have not acquired it yet. Okay, so let me come back a bit. Hello, Kiara. How you doing? Look. My tongue is like... it is dyed black. Anyways. Yeah, I agree with you there, Nug. Don't even buy subs. Just use my Patreon. Use my Patreon instead of subbing. You doing okay? I'm doing okay. I'm doing well. I'm doing alright. You can sub if you want. I don't mind, but I would prefer to get more of my money. You know, my Patreon is cheaper than a subscription. And I get like 80% of it. You know, if you want to directly financially support a streamer, go through other avenues. Don't support them on. Don't use the Twitch system. Anyways, should we come back to the game thing, or are we we get the point? I think it just keeps going and going. We'd be here all night if we wanted to do. Like, look at this. You gonna step out for a sec, right here, Reaper? Like, look, you just like, la 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 la, it just keeps going. I can't stop you from subbing, true, and I do like the Twitch payouts. You know, I look forward to getting money from Twitch, from all the lovely subscribers and all the people who cheer bits. Because it says to me that I'm a better streamer than these losers who come into my chat and just trash me for no reason. I love when someone comes into my stream and trashes me and it turns out they're a streamer who's fucking dog shit at it. Sorry to hear you suck. Anyway. Sterling put out a new video. Yeah, I haven't checked out last week's one. I'll have to give it a watch. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. I use Coffee, which is this one. If you want to give me money, feel free to give me money. You know, that's a thing that you're allowed to do. I don't really post anything on the Coffee page all that much, but you know. That's basically just a direct route to my PayPal. You want to get into Sterling, but what? Excuse me for a minute while I try to... Holy shit. Also, I didn't get coffee. I got this lemon, lime, and bitters flavored soda water. Trying to keep them calories low, you know? You never have time. Well, true. Time is always an issue, is it not? Yes, I would like to see the new headset you ordered. What'd you order? Yeah, I always advocate against, like, it's a tricky thing because subbing, in a lot of ways, subscribing and sharing bits is still a it's very much the same kind of concept as the microtransactions, in the sense that it's made very accessible. It's made very easy to subscribe to someone or to share bits. You know, Amazon, Twitch has made it very, very easy. And as a result, a lot of people will just sub and share bits because it's the quickest route to support the streamer. And I will always advocate, if the opportunity arises to plug this, go to if they've got a Patreon or if they've got a Coffee or anything like that, excuse me, literally every option aside from that is financially better for the streamer. Now, you'll get less on Twitch, of course. You won't really, unless the streamer does something for patrons or something like that, you're more than likely not going to get anything out of it aside from, like, if they put Patreon content up, then fantastic. But, or if they do something for coffee donors or whatever it is that they do, you know. But you're going to miss out on the little sub badge, the emotes, the ad-free viewing. You know, that's kind of the tricky part, is like, Twitch incentivizes using the Twitch sub feature. Whereas, you know, if you go off-site, yes, you're supporting the streamer more directly, which, again, I always advocate. I have a Patreon if you want to use it. And the lowest tier, there's 2 tiers on my Patreon. There's a $100 tier and there's a $3 tier. Use the $3 tier if you want to do that. You know, if you feel it, I am going to add some new content on there soon. I need to overhaul my Patreon and everything else. But anyway. Yeah, if you want to directly support a content creator, go through other avenues, you know. True, time has always been weird. It's not easier if you're on mobile. Still need to try and set up your Patreon. Yeah, Patreon is unwieldy to use as well. Like, as a creator at least. The way their site is laid out is very confusing. I feel like I don't know where anything is when I go and figure out what I'm trying to do on Patreon. It's a mess. Anyways, there we go. Oh, the pink one. There we go. Headset. The latter is far more insidious, though. True. Yes. Commodifying the sense of community rather than commodifying improving in progression. Okay, but let's put it this way. Am I not able to consider that maybe, you know, this could be a potential career option, you know, at the end of it? You know, obviously we're not in any sense in the near future going to move towards a model where currency doesn't exist. So, given that I would rather go an avenue that brings me more income than the avenue that brings me less, is there an issue with that? I do like these headphones, but I feel like they're kind of a stereotype at this point. I wouldn't get them for that reason. There was another headset that was vaguely similar that I like to look at, but I can't think of it though. I can't think of it at the moment because there's too many headsets out there. Can be done more or less ethically? Well, yes, always. Therein lies a big issue, actually. The problem of ethics. There are so many things ethically wrong, I suppose, with doing this.
Room's business endeavors.
Well, there's some new patron. Thank you, new patron. I really got to go through my Streamlabs thing. Good night, Fox. Have a good one. Get some rest. Like, there's a lot to deduce about the ethicality of literally everything we do in our day-to-day lives. It becomes exhausting the moment you start to think about it. The energy that I'm expending using my PC, for example. Or who made the PC? Who made the parts that go into the PC? What about the food that I consume and all this kind of stuff? Anywho, that's a whole other discussion. I didn't come prepared for that. I do have some other news though, because I don't want to continue reading that game thing, because that's a very, very long article that just keeps going on. I imagine maybe it would have come up later in the article, but I didn't see any mention of the use of colorful, child-friendly aesthetics to allure children in. Because I did mention earlier on that, you know, kids are being raised now in an environment where microtransactions are so prominent and easily accessible. And a lot of those games are designed in such a way that they have a colorful, kid-friendly art style. Excuse me. Yeah. Once they come out with solid-state batteries, it'll be worse. Oh no, what's a solid-state battery? Popping out player not chatting, what? Caps, what? Okay. Good one, comment. I'm confused. Even all the stuff we washed down the drain, exactly. Video player. What's going on? I'm confused. What are you doing? Why have I got Spotify up? Now I can't see chat. There we go. Let's have a look here. Is there any... news that we can look at? Why are we yelling? I don't know. Why are we yelling? Nostalgia is used in a sinister way across media as well. Oh yeah, absolutely. Speaking of nostalgia, who remembers Turf Wars? That's some nostalgia for you. Who remembers Turf Wars? I wanted to bring this up because it this came across my where did I find? Oh yeah, no, Fox sent me this link, I think, in Discord. And the New York Post, pretty significant. Oh, a thing about solid-state batteries. We'll have a look at that in a moment. The New York Post felt the need to resurrect the news of J.K. Rowling's little Turf Wars essay, right? Which we're all familiar with at this point. It's been out for a good long while. What was it, October she posted that? A while back. And the thing is, we can't escape it. It keeps coming back. It keeps popping back into the discourse, and it's because of shit like this. Book Festival cancels Harry Potter segment, citing J.K. Rowling's comments on gender. A Harry Potter-themed event at a New Zealand book festival has been cancelled over author J.K. Rowling's controversial comments on gender. Organisers of Featherston's Booktown Karakatea... Give me just a moment, because I already looked this up, but I'm going to do it again. Not Featherston Murders. Yeah, Featherston, New Zealand, population of 2,480 people. That's a very small and insignificant town, New York Post. Why do you care so much to bring up news about what's happening in a tiny town in New Zealand with a population of just around 2,500? That's unusual. Why would you bring that? Unique Mommy, welcome to the Road Room. Pop out the video player on Twitch and put it on your second screen and close out the tab. Caps is because you're gaming. I see. Okay, I get it. So Featherston is this tiny little insignificant town in the middle of nowhere. Eliminated a quiz about the popular young adult series after J.K. Rowling was a cunt about trans people. Best-selling British author, yeah. And it just goes in and like talking about the whole thing. We always thought Booktown should be an inclusive, welcoming place for everyone, so we took the decision to not go with Harry Potter. Fine, okay, cool, awesome. But some local gay advocates told the outlet they agreed. I think it's a strong decision to show they're really trying to be an inclusive community and support their rainbow and transgender people, Tabby Besley of Inside Out Charity reportedly said. The May 6th book festival is set to examine cancel culture, which one local feminist activist said was ironic according to the outlet. Cancel? How's a book festival? Whatever. You know, maybe they'll talk about the Dr. Seuss thing. I think they might be trying to capitalize on the current fad of cancel culture, Jenny White said, according to Stuff. Why do you see the bitch name right there? Oh, yeah, J.K. Rowling's name, yeah. White, who identifies as a lesbian, told the outlet she does not think J.K. Rowling's comments were transphobic. Is she transgender? She doesn't get to decide that. If she's not a transgender lesbian, then she doesn't get to decide what's transphobic. Sorry, love. It's really funny that all the way from the UK, where a world-famous writer has gotten into trouble for expressing quite compassionate and reasonable views, all the way down to tiny little Featherston. Nobody fucking cares about Featherston. You know what this was about? This was about the New York Post, again, resurrecting J.K. Rowling's bullshit comments, which, as far as I know, she's been largely silent on for a while now. She hasn't really come back into the discussion herself actively. This is a nothing town from nowhere. Sorry to anybody who lives in Featherston. But, New York Post, this is non-news. This is the opposite of news. This is not relevant to anything. It's just a way to bring J.K. Rowling's bullshit back to the forefront and bring some ire out of people. This is quite literally outrage culture. That's what this is. You want to talk cultures? You want to talk your cancel culture bullshit? This is outrage culture. This is bringing up an issue that you know is going to piss off a lot of people. Just to piss off a lot of people. Diversion, yeah, it's a diversion tactic to distract us from other issues. We are trying to forget about Turf Wars. We're trying to forget about that stupid 4,000 word thing she wrote. You can post a link where I go. And people know New Zealand for Lord of the Rings, that one shooter, and now this, I guess. And this is the thing, is like, maybe this is good promotion for that book festival. maybe somebody who lives nearby Featherston in New Zealand will see this article and say, hey, I'm going to go to that book festival there. I'm going to go to their book festival. But realistically, dude, it's like, come on. Can you give us a break? This combined with fucking Caitlyn Jenner's insistence on dictating what the trans community believes, essentially. It's like, can we have a break? Can we have a bit of can we stop for a little while? I'd like to stop for a little while. Just like have a bit of a rest. I should have put vodka in this. Anyways, let's have a look at Catalina's video first. Hang on.
This video is brought to you by Audible. The increased use of lithium-ion batteries in everything from portable electronics to grid-scale energy storage has also spurred on battery research. It's the never-ending quest for the next big thing. And for years now...
Hang on. Let me just turn the volume up. I don't think I... Can you hear it fine? Fucking hell, dude. This stupid extension. I need to find a better version of it. There we go.
Solid-state batteries have been promised as that thing. Companies like Samsung, QuantumScape, and Toyota have all announced major breakthroughs in solid-state batteries. But why all the interest, and when will they actually arrive? I'm Matt Farrell. Welcome to Undecided.
Imagine having this level of production value. Can't relate.
Lithium-ion batteries have had a massive impact on the world, unlocking the potential in portable electronics, and more recently, electric vehicles and grid-scale energy storage. However, the aspect that a lot of us worry about when using a lithium-ion battery is safety, which is one of the big advantages of solid-state batteries, combined with its high energy density, as well as reduced size and weight. Current lithium-ion batteries use a liquid electrolyte solution, and if they aren't properly managed or are damaged in an accident, they can swell from temperature variations or even leak from mechanical stress. The result of that can lead to fire. Now, on top of that, most EV...
Fire bad. Fire hot. New York Post, not New York Times. Right, a Google searching J.K. Rowling, Joanne Rowling, literally anything, any mentions anywhere on the internet. Why do people think we need an outsider to decide for us? I know, it's ridiculous.
EVs employing lithium-ion batteries have a range of 300 miles or less, a long charging time, not to mention the loss of capacity over time with each charging cycle. In some cases, that's as much as a third of capacity lost within a decade. But technology doesn't stand still. There's always ongoing research and refinements that continue to make batteries better and more resilient, looking for new chemical storage technologies that can increase efficiency and safety while reducing size, weight, and environmental impacts. And that's where solid-state batteries come in. To understand why, let's take a moment and walk through the main differences between today's lithium-ion batteries and a solid-state battery. In a battery, the electrolyte is the conductive chemical mixture that allows the current to flow between the cathode, which is the positively charged electrode, and the anode, which is the negatively charged electrode. In the case of lithium-ion batteries, what separates the anode from the cathode is a liquid electrolyte solution. While a solid-state battery, you probably guessed...
I want to eat the cube. What about fire for trans wrongs? Yes, please. Wing, yeah, drop a video if you want. We'll watch some more videos. We'll just watch videos for the rest of the night. It's rice and beans. And conservatives and cancel culture. We'll come back to that one.
Is a solid electrolyte. Now, liquid electrolytes have some disadvantages, such as high flammability, risk of leakage, and electrolytic decomposition at higher voltages. Now, while batteries that utilize solid electrolytes have been promised to lower costs and increase performance with incredible safety. Now, if you're interested in a deeper dive, I've got other videos on this exact topic, but one of the biggest benefits of solid electrolytes is the ability to use other anode materials like lithium metal. The potential increase in energy density for a lithium metal anode battery has been known since the mid-1970s, but it's also known that lithium metal anodes have problems when used with liquid electrolytes. In this case, dendrites form when the battery is being charged. Dendrites are like stalactite formations that grow from the surface of the anode and can lead to reduced energy density, and they can even short-circuit the cell. The dendrites can puncture the separator between the anode and the cathode, and that's when you get exploding batteries. Now, it's widely believed to...
I would very much like that to not happen to my batteries. Thank you. Not risk of leakage. And a lovely biscuit in the middle. Looks like it had blueberries. Yes, I want a cube. Can I get a cube dessert that's blueberries, biscuit, and cream or something? I don't know.
To make a lithium metal anode battery, it's necessary to employ a solid-state separator that's roughly as conductive as liquid, reduced dendrite formations, and it doesn't react with the metallic lithium. Today there are more than 25 kinds of solid-state electrolytes, such as oxides, sulfides, phosphates, polyesters. But I'm going to stop there because I don't want to get any flashbacks of my 1970s childhood. The promise of solid-state batteries has been growing for years, like hundreds of years. It goes all the way back to Michael Faraday in the 1800s when he laid the foundation with the discovery of solid electrolytes made of silver sulfide and lead fluoride.
Because deconstructed food. Oh, God. We're too lazy to actually prepare the meal for you. We just gave you the ingredients. Do it yourself, you fucking lazy ass. That's the thing. It's harder. It's harder to, like, separate... to make deconstructed food. It's stupid, isn't it? It's so fucking stupid.
And by the end of the 1950s, several electrochemical systems used solid electrolytes. Later in 1990, Oak Ridge National Laboratory developed a brand new version of solid-state batteries, which was later incorporated into thin-film lithium-ion batteries. But since 2015, big players have been investing a lot of money into this research. In this crazy mix of chemistries and technologies, there's been a lot of buzz recently about new investments in the field. For example, Volkswagen got a 5% stake in QuantumScape. Dyson acquired Sakti, Bosch acquired SEEO, and Johnson Battery Technologies sold its solid-state batteries to BP. Some electric vehicle companies joined the game as well. BMW established a partnership with Solid Power, and Ionic Materials, a company that's in my neck of the woods here in Massachusetts, works with Hyundai. The reason for the interest from EV makers is because of how much energy you can pack in per kilogram, which results in...
If I want... Deconstructed food is very pretentious, it is. If you wanted a deconstructed apple pie, you'd drop a pie on the floor. Ew, patents. I'm barely understanding most of this, honestly. I'll keep watching it, though.
Either a size and weight reduction if you keep the same battery pack kilowatt-hour rating, or increased driving range if you keep the battery pack weight the same. So keep an EV battery pack at 70 kilowatt-hours with less weight, or increase it to something like 120 kilowatt-hours with the same weight. And the benefits don't stop there. You get batteries that operate within a wider range of temperatures, making them more robust, as well as more eco-friendly compared to conventional batteries. And there's been a lot of buzz and recent announcements about...
Basically, there is some solid material that is safer than the previous liquid material in every way. I mean, I always sort of understood the, solid state better than the current way things are going, That's understood. That I get. Hang on. What do we got here? Let's go through these videos. Why did I wait so long for this one, Riot Girl? God damn it. So, Riot Girl has listed this as, this sums up conservatives and cancel culture. I thought it was an actual video that was going to discuss that topic in depth.
Excuse me.
Oh, fuck. God damn. And the moment that the video ends, here's some more news. What and why is cancel culture? Okay. Anyways. Caught Reddit. Look, it's Trump. Oh, gosh. Alright. And Noam Chomsky. Let's have a look at Noam Chomsky. Beep. Al Jazeera. Okay. Can I watch this? Am I allowed to watch this? Is this legal? I will make it legal. Beep. Beep.
Propaganda. Many use the word when talking about countries like North Korea, Kazakhstan, Iran. Countries viewed as authoritarian through the lens of the Western media. Press freedom, freedom of thought. People use those terms when talking about countries like the United States, France, Australia, democracies. In 1988, Noam Chomsky co-authored a book with Edward Herman called Manufacturing Consent.
I have actually been meaning to read that book on that note. There we go.
Blasted apart the notion that media acts as a check on political power. That media inform the public, serve the public, so that we can better engage in the political process. In fact, media manufacture our consent. They tell us what those in power need them to tell us so we can fall in line. Democracy is staged with the help of media that work as propaganda machines.
You're not high enough for this video? I feel like maybe this is just me and maybe it's just you as well. But some of this stuff feels entirely just logical to me. Just like I already deduced this. But maybe it's the fact that I've been exposed to these ideas my entire life. You know? I'm familiar with these concepts. That's a whole discussion. The Democracy Now! Woman. I'll have to look her up.
Media operate through 5 filters.
It reminds me of actually, I think something, meant more the animation, not high enough for the, yeah, the animation's pretty trippy, isn't it? I am reminded of when Jordan Raskopoulos tweeted something about, I forget what the specific thing was, but then she mentioned she went and found, it was something Marxist, some Marxist idea. She's like, oh, I just thought of this great thing that would do a lot for society. And then I went and I checked and yep, Marx definitely already wrote that. Yeah, left stuff just makes sense. Crazy how that works.
The first has to do with ownership. Mass media firms are big corporations. Often they're part of even bigger conglomerates. Their endgame, profit. And so it's in their interests to push for whatever guarantees that profit. Critical.
We literally do live in a society. Duma Queen. Yeah, so what's her name? What's the Democracy Now! Lady's name? I think am I subscribed to Democracy Now! I don't know.
Journalism takes second place to the needs and interests of the corporation. The second filter exposes the real role of advertising. Media costs a lot more than consumers will ever pay. So who fills the gap? Advertisers. And what are the advertisers paying for? Audiences. And so it isn't so much that the media are selling you a product, their output. They're also selling advertisers a product. You.
Again, just logical, you know. Well, this animation can't a live action adaptation. What? Will it have a live action adaptation? Can we get a live action adaptation of this? Can we do like a puppet animation of this? Like, what's it called? Claymation this? Something like that? Amy Goodman. Okay, there we go. The animation makes it hard to concentrate. It definitely works. I think the animation definitely works for the video. I can see some people being distracted by it, of course, but I think, amusingly, it's eye-catching. It gets your attention. Minute the video starts, that tempo increasing drop EDM. Let's continue. Hello, souls. We're living in the live-action adaptation, quite literally.
How does the establishment manage the media? That's the third filter. Journalism cannot be a check on power because the very system encourages complicity. Governments, corporations, big institutions know how to play the media game. They know how to influence the news narrative. They feed media scoops, official accounts, interviews with the
This is quite literally just tying back to the fucking why did the New York Post need to share the J.K. Rowling video again, J.K. Rowling article.
Experts. They make themselves crucial to the process of journalism. So those in power and those who report on them are in bed with each other. If you want to challenge power, you'll be pushed to the margins. Your name won't be down. You won't be getting in. You've lost your access. You've lost the story. When the media, journalists, whistleblowers, sources, stray away from the consensus, they get flagged. That's the fourth filter. When the story is inconvenient for the powers that be, you'll see the flak machine in action, discrediting sources, trashing stories, and diverting the conversation. To manufacture consent, you need an enemy, a target. That common enemy is the fifth filter. Communism, terrorists, immigrants, a common enemy. A boogeyman to fear helps corral public opinion. 5 filters, one big media theory. Consent is being manufactured all around you, all the time.
I have well and truly just had an acid trip, and I've never once in my life taken acid. Okay, that was that was good. That was informative. But again, it's all that kind of stuff that I guess maybe my education has led me to already deduce these kinds of things. Not as many people are watching controlled media. I think the media we're watching is still controlled in a lot of ways. However, it's I think the way that we consume the media these days has shifted quite a bit. Learned all that through reading and music. Yeah, a lot of this stuff seems logical to a lot of people. It seems like a foregone conclusion. You're already aware that this kind of stuff exists. But it takes... I think the reason videos like this are important, and the reason streams like mine are important in some ways. I've had some people say to me they like the way that I say the real things or something. I don't know. People have complimented me on the way that I stream. And in particular, what I've been complimented on is the way that I put things into a certain perspective. And that perspective allows people to switch on that part of their brains, and not just me, but anyone who does this kind of thing. Videos like we just watched, they tell you an idea you're already aware of, but they make you say to yourself, oh, I get it. I understand it now. So it's not so much that you're learning the thing, it's that you might already know it, you might already be aware of it. Some people are not, and in that case it's an educational video, but there are some people who are aware of these things, but the idea in their brain isn't really switched on yet. It's not really, activated. Like your almonds, Have you activated your almonds today for breakfast tomorrow? Make sure you go activate your almonds, okay? What does that mean? I feel like it was either a conscious choice to draw in a specific demographic with the surrealist stuff, or like someone was getting to express some real big feelings that are tied up with those logical things we've deduced/discovered via leftism. One of them, I don't know which, but yes. LGBTQIA plus needs real talk people with audiences. It do. Almonds for breakfast? I mean, you could do almonds in a granola. I could do that. Almond granola sounds pretty nice. Excuse me. Fuck, dude. Been sneezing today. It's not great. Activate almonds. I'll look it up. You have almond milk? That counts, yeah. Okay. Activate nuts. Oh, fuck. Almonds are bastards. Almonds are joy. Okay. If you like eating raw nuts... Do you like eating raw nuts? When he activates his nuts. Oh, I'm a child. Hi, I'm 14 years of age. I'm gonna blame the estrogen because I'm currently experiencing a second adolescence. So all the dumb, stupid jokes are funny. When my nuts are already active. Okay. If you like eating raw nuts, you may have heard about the health trend called activating or soaking your... Oh, fuck. Soaking your nuts. Somebody please stop me. Oh my god. Oh, that's a good soak. Activating your nuts reduces their phytates and makes them easier to digest if you eat or cook them raw. Cook with them raw. Soaking my balls in the sink real quick. It also makes their nutrients more available for your body to absorb. The process of activating nuts sounds fancy, but all you have to do is mix salt and water, soak your nuts, and roast them in the oven. I am certainly not putting my nuts in the oven. Oh, fuck. It's a good thing we're all mature adults here. 31-year-old woman. Honestly, like that idea of, you know, you're a grown adult, you shouldn't be doing this and that and the other, and you shouldn't be playing the video games and listening to the punk rock music. At your age, you should be getting a home loan. It's so ridiculous, this notion that we can't have stupid, silly fun after the age of 18 or something. It's ridiculous, and it's rooted in archaic social norms that we no longer subscribe to. Blah. Stupid. Mix 2 cups or 470 mils of water with 2 teaspoons, so 6 grams of sea salt. Why does it have to be sea salt? Can't it be Himalayan rock salt? Use a spoon to mix your water and your salt together in a large bowl or Tupperware container. Normal salt is okay to use for your mixture, but sea salt is best because it is more coarse. You can use slightly lukewarm water to make the salt dissolve quicker. You're already insert age. Shouldn't you be pre-filing your quarterly taxes? What's not fancy about soaking your nuts? We have similar rants. Fantastic. That's what I like to hear. Place 2 cups or 3 ounces of nuts in a large glass bowl. Put your nuts in a large bowl that will be able to hold both the nuts and the water mixture. Only activate 2 cups of nuts at a time so that your mixture doesn't spill out over the bowl. If you have more nuts, you can put them in separate bowls with separate measures. Cover your nuts with the salt water mixture. Soak the nuts for at least 10 hours. 10 fucking hours. This is why I don't do cold brew coffee, by the way. I really wanted to do cold brew coffee, but it was like, okay, first of all, you got to do something with the coffee grounds, whatever it is. And then it's like a process that takes 36 hours to make cold brew coffee. And I'm like, dude, I want a coffee now. Not in a day and a half, you cunt. I'm not going to waste the time on that shit. I'm exaggerating, but, you know, I tried to do cold brew coffee. Also, I fucked up the positioning of my monitors by banging on the desk. Like an esports streamer. Gonna go hate yourself for being called daddy. Oh, daddy. Sorry, I'm just moving my monitor, which never sits straight, by the way. I hate this so much. My monitors never sit perfectly in line with each other, and it drives me up the fucking wall. Band name is Turbo Concubine. Look for us at punk festivals everywhere. Kicking over chairs and knocking over tables in a restaurant because they didn't soak my nuts. Anyways, drying them. There's a whole thing here. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Drying them out. Pour your nuts into a sieve or strainer over a sink. Okay, so soak them for 10 hours. Line a baking tray with parchment paper so that your nuts don't stick to it. Spread your nuts on the baking tray in one single layer. Make sure your nuts are spread over the baking tray in a single layer with as little overlap as possible. That way they will dry out quickly and evenly. Roast your nuts in the oven for at least 6 hours at 150 degrees Fahrenheit. You want your nuts to dry out slowly at a low temperature so that their nutrients get activated. You can tell your nuts are dry when they're a few shades darker than when they started out. Hello, Catalina. Store your nuts in an airtight container and eat them within 48 hours. How many are you going to eat? Jesus. Activating your nuts leaves them more prone to mold, so you should eat them within 2 days of drying them out. 6 hours. 6 fucking hours. Why would you do this? You can eat your activated nuts on their own or put them into recipes like peanut butter or almond butter. Who wants to watch the oven for 6 fucking hours? I know. What? Who's doing this shit? What pretentious fuckwits are doing this shit? Just put the almonds in your mouth and eat them. You don't need to activate your fucking almonds. Rich lips. Yeah, the solid state battery was good, but I started to lose focus on it, so we skipped most of it. But we got a good grasp of it. It just started to ramble a bit. There are people who watch paint dry. There are indeed. Like quite literally, we're not even joking. Middle-class white mothers who want their kids to be extra healthy at the suburban baseball game. If I wanted activated nuts, I wouldn't be on HRT. True. Can we get any trues in chat? Oh gosh. It's fine as long as you know who wants smushy nuts. As long as you know they exist. Nuts are meant to be hard. Yeah, they are. They're meant to be crunchy. You know? They're meant to be crunchy, mate. Yeah, some stuff is a bit much. There's a lot of people who, like... Again, I get really into tracking my calories and all this sort of stuff. And at the moment, I'm doing macros, too. I want to keep my carbohydrates low, proteins and fats high, kind of thing. But at the end of the day, like, there are some people who just literally go more and more and more and more micro. Right? They go as micro as they possibly can to the point where it's like, how do you have any time in your life for literally anything else when you're nitpicking at every little thing to make sure it's perfect? Like, how do you have the time and patience? Don't you have dishes to wash? Clothes to hang out? No, these people probably have house servants. Watching paint dry is more entertaining than Bill Maher. Watching Bill Maher's show is watching paint dry. Like, it's... Trying to cut back on things in general. Yeah, like, at the moment, I'm trying to I'm trying to just generally keep my calories low. But I also want to macro it a bit, so because I want to eat less carbohydrates so that I lean out a bit, you know, lose a bit of fat. But that's about as deep in that rabbit hole as I'm going to go. I'm not going to start activating almonds, you know, and eating specific amounts of specific foods within a specific, you know, 30-minute time frame in the day between the hours of 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. And all this other bullshit, you know, and it gets to a point where you're just like, do we know this shit actually works, or did like one person test this and find certain results, and then everyone just went, yep, that's how we're gonna go with things? Honestly. Just trying to make sure your kitchen is stocked on veggies and fruits that are pre-chopped to throw together easily. That's true, yeah. Do you pay the ADHD tax, is the way I've heard it referred to, is getting pre-chopped fruit and veg so that you're more likely to eat it because it's already prepped to be used in a salad or something like that. You know, it's called the ADHD tax because, you know, apparently, I don't know, I don't have ADHD, but, you know, you pay that little bit more for the food that's already sort of pre-prepared. You know, like the thing, you remember a while back we had the image of the pre-peeled orange that was in a plastic container, and we deduced, of course, that it wasn't so much the ADHD thing as it was elderly people. You know, there are a lot of old people who do not have the dexterity to actually peel an orange. They don't have the hand-eye coordination at their advanced age to do that. And if they use a knife, they could slip and cut themselves. So, having a pre-peeled orange in a plastic container benefits significantly older people who do not have the hand coordination. Get a food processor? That's an idea. Thought about that. Eating microwave sauté chicken for that exact reason. Well, yeah. That's the thing, like, for a while there, when I was in different life circumstances where I was a lot more busy, I found myself going to the freezer section at my supermarket and just grabbing, like, a pre-made tuna bake, a pre-made lasagna, these kinds of things. And just, you know, it was... You stick it in the microwave for 3 minutes, and all of a sudden you have food to eat, rather than spending 20, 30, 40 minutes preparing a meal or waiting for something to cook in the oven. You've got it now, it's done. And then you can get back to whatever else you're doing. And that's not just a problem with people who have ADHD, for example, or people who can't focus on cooking or what have you. It's also just a problem in general of people who go out of their way to fill their schedule with other stuff. A lot of the time, people who are just far too busy with their work life or their social life, whatever it is. I'm so fucking itchy! Sorry, I'm itching like fucking crazy. It's driving me insane. I don't know what it is. I get the suspicion it's just me shaving. your girl likes to be hair-free, except on top. And I think maybe I need to invest in some higher quality razors or something, because I'm itchy as all fuck. And the anti-allergy medication is not doing a fucking thing. Frozen meals are too convenient for your executive dysfunction, adult brain. Well, yeah. And that's not a bad thing. Like, even, again, coming back around to the elderly thing. Microwave meals are really good for elderly people who live alone. Oops, I just kicked my camera stand. Or not necessarily live alone, but, you know, they get, there comes a point, you know, in certain advanced age people where it's just like they may have liked to have cooked. They may have liked to cook earlier in life, but as they get on in years, they lose the capacity to do so. They can't chop veggies anymore or any of this kind of stuff. More likely to burn themselves with boiling water or what have you. Queen James, welcome to the Rogue Room. How you doing? Do I use post-shave lotion? I may need to look into that. But I'd need it for, like, literally everywhere on my body. I know I should probably moisturize. That might be one of my problems. I don't really moisturize a whole lot. Below, like, I do my hands and I do my face. I should probably moisturize other places. Frozen meals would be great if we had any food regulation. Yeah, true. This is one of the major issues with that kind of thing. There are avenues to get healthier meals that are frozen. Specifically, usually muscle meals. They're usually branded as muscle meals for, you know, bodybuilders kind of types, where they're packed full of proteins and carbs, and it's all generally good food that's been frozen. But a lot of it is garbage. A lot of it is really cheap garbage that's designed to just fill your stomach and not do much else. I feel like I need to sneeze again. And I don't want to. Maybe I do have some kind of allergies. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, yeah. Other harmful ingredients? Yeah, preservatives of some way, shape, or form. Those articles on that shit on things like self-balancing spoons. How privileged do you have to be to think a self-balancing spoon for lazy people? I mean, ableism, let's not act like ableism is not one of the easiest things for society to mock. It happens all the fucking time. Radio Kiara, have a good one. God damn it. I'm allergic to Bill Maher's bullshit, maybe. But yeah, well, I imagine a self-balancing spoon, you sit it on the edge of the bowl and it stays there. But yeah, like, people love to pick on anyone who is not able-bodied. It's a very easy target. Because so many people have got this mindset of, I'm strong and you're weak. I don't need that shit for frail old people. Look at how able-bodied I am. And they don't realize how much of a privilege that is. Comes back around to that dickhead we were talking about a little while ago. James Smith, the personal trainer / public speaker dickhead. Who's like, oh, what was he saying about being able-bodied? He said something like, oh, he spends a ton of time in the gym and eats a really good diet to be as able-bodied as he is. Completely overlooking the fact that there are many, many people out there who simply do not have the capacity to be able-bodied. And it's not about physical fitness. It's about having issues that prevent you from being able-bodied. Yeah. Have your NDIS funding linked with a meal service for that exact reason. You got ADHD, etc. And having a week's worth of dinners and lunches has been so good. That sounds really awesome. Oops, I keep kicking the fucking thing. I got 2 legs, I don't need an elevator. Screw old people. Realizes they have to carry a couch 3 floors on stairs. How do people do this shit, man? Honestly. If I was living in an apartment in like, you know, fucking, I don't know how many stories up. I would live exclusively on flat pack furniture. All of my furniture would be flat packed. I'll just fucking make it. Just let me make my own furniture. Made for people with fine motor skills who may drop or not be able to correct the angle of the spoons. Yeah, exactly. Also, it's not for bouncing on the bowl. It's for bouncing when they're actually feeding. I forgot about that part. Yeah, it's for people who, you know, who might have, what's a good example? Like palsy? Maybe some form of palsy or other issues that prevent them from, having fine motor skills. And so many people just take that for granted. Because most people, generally speaking, are able-bodied to a point. You know, there are a lot of people who have invisible disabilities, physical invisible disabilities, but by and large, most people do have fine motor skills. By and large, most people have working legs, are not paralyzed. And thus, when people create things that are designed to help those people who are, you know, not able-bodied, then, yeah, there are just absolute ding-dongs who think it's a good idea to mock those people who need those things. Like, who would need this silly garbage? You know? If anyone has a program for people with shaky hands to use computers easier, I'm sure there is something. I'm absolutely certain there's got to be something. I'm not sure what it would be. Excuse me. It's late and I'm tired. I'm actually tired. Anyway, this is the problem. You know, I'm not getting enough caffeine in, so now I'm like half passed out. The UK is now using a system where if they think you're using the NHS for mental health issues too much, they get the cops involved. Oh my god. Are you serious? Dude, oh my god. That's a whole thing. That's an entire thing. Anyway. On this subject, actually, I have an article right here that is perfectly related. It's called SIM. Well, if you can find me something that goes over that, I'd love to read it. But for right now, I'm staring at my list of articles that I was going to talk about tonight. And I'm like literally looking right at this one. And I don't know why I didn't bring this up. This is an older, like this was only posted yesterday, but this topic is rather, you know, a few months ago, I think, or last year or something like that. In Dungeons & Dragons, you can be almost anything, so why the backlash over a combat wheelchair? This is literally the exact same thing we were talking about, and I didn't think to bring this up. The tabletop game D&D is about fantasy storytelling as players take on the roles of wizards, druids, or paladins, but when an option of playing as a wheelchair user was introduced, some fans were not accepting of that fantasy. It does sound fucking ace. The tabletop role-playing game lets players create their own characters from a list of options and those characters then go through challenges as a team to battle mystical creatures and work their way out of trouble with the game led by the DM. Barbie Waifu, welcome to the Rogue Room. Last year, a supplement called a Combat Wheelchair was released for free download so disabled gamers and DMs can include wheelchair-using characters in their games. Which is fucking pog, mate! That is absolutely fucking pog. How are you, Barbie? You want to play as a user of one rather than as a disabled and looking for a cure? Yeah, exactly. I think it might have been involved with Matt Mercer. I don't know if Matt Mercer specifically created it, but I think it was specifically relating to... Was it Matt Mercer? I don't recall. It did in some way relate to the show that he's on, though. The D&D show that he's on. Critical Role, is that it? Yeah. The combat wheelchair was developed by Sarah Thompson, a disabled writer of TTRPG supplements in the UK. For the first time, I had been confronted with how horrible people can be within the community that I thought would be the most accepting of me, Ms. Thompson said. They were calling disabled people like me weak. This is exactly what we were just talking about. Coming up with every reason under the sun why we can't exist in a game where you could shoot fire magically from your fingertips. As an advocate for disabled representation in role-playing games, Ms. Thompson has been working to make TTRPGs more inclusive. Hello? You want cuddles? He's patting at my arm. Yeah, they could do homebrew, but this is official, yeah. She has delivered presentations to companies and created a range of accessibility gaming mechanics. Sorry, I'm covering text. For a variety of tabletop games, including the Witcher game. When Ms. Thompson released the combat wheelchair for D&D late last year, she was not prepared for the backlash. Though I did have quite a lot of outpouring of support and love, there were still people who were very much set against it, she said. Unfortunately, that did turn into threats, whether they were generalized, very vague threats, or they were outright death threats. Can you imagine being so petty as to try and attack a person for adding accessibility to a game played by so many people? No wheelchair, only levitating paraplegics. And furthermore, I want to mention... Here is Cat, by the way. I want to mention that Professor Xavier, you know, the X-Men is one of the most popular fantastical franchises out there. You know, it's not specifically fantasy as we typically define it as, you know, medieval Europe-based fantasy. But X-Men is still, in its own way, a fantasy setting, and Professor X is one of the most prominent characters in it, who gets around in a fucking wheelchair, doesn't he? So what's the issue here? Like, these people are deranged. Okay, you can... what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Huh? Bitch? One of the most powerful characters in comic books, an elderly man in a wheelchair. I know. And this is honestly like, off you go. This is honestly leaning into very heavily. And this kind of stuff crops up anywhere, especially in gaming. These are very, very fashy attitudes at the end of the day. Just the use of the word weak, you know? They were calling disabled people like me weak. What do you think the depth of that message is? It's not just, oh, you are lesser in society because of your disability. No. That kind of attitude directly leads into psychologies that suggest this person is weak, this type of person doesn't belong, this person deserves to be perhaps exiled from society. Maybe we should gather up all those weak people and do away with them. I don't want them in my fantasy game because it ruins the illusion, you know? That's what this is all about. These kinds of attitudes pervade numerous different types of gaming communities. Because there's a lot of, for some reason, if somebody can, you know, if somebody can feed me the knowledge as to why this is such a prominent thing in gaming communities. And yeah, it's not even in the book, it's an add-on. It's an official add-on, but it's just an add-on. And you don't need to use it. This is the thing, is like, if you don't, this is the great thing about D&D, right? You don't have to use it. You don't have to engage with this kind of content if you don't want to. But people are outright angry about it. Anyways. But there were those in support of the community, who came out in support of the combat wheelchair and Ms. Thompson's work for inclusivity. It helped a lot when very big, outspoken people in the tabletop community like Matt Mercer spoke up and showed their support for it. Then it kind of died down a little bit, she said. Matt Mercer is the DM of a D&D web series called Critical Role, where longitudinal campaigns are played by a group of voice actors and live streamed to millions of followers. Introducing the combat wheelchair to Critical Role made a major impact on the D&D community, and Ms. Thompson said people have been more accepting of it since. Even in fantasy games, seeing people like you matters. I'm always about representation, right? I'm always about bringing this whole idea of representation into anything, whether it's disability, whether it's your race, whether it's your sex, whether it's your gender. Seeing representation, this is the thing, right? And this relates to any kind of minority character. Whenever you try to introduce this kind of minority into a fantastical setting of any kind, especially if it's a popular thing, people will suddenly lose their minds over the idea of it being included, despite the fact that the audiences of those particular things are always going to be diverse, and that diverse audience is going to want to see themselves represented, and that's not a bad thing. We should have more diverse representation so that people like me who were in the closet for like 16 fucking years about being trans or whatever, or like, imagine, you know, seeing more positive representation of autistic people, you know, fuck's sake, cat, go away. And yeah, like, there's numerous instances that I can think of, not directly by name at the moment, but there's numerous instances I can think of where minorities are represented in an inherently negative way in the context of whatever it is that you're consuming, whether it's D&D, whether it's TV shows or books or movies or whatever. You know, you look at what was it? I'm trying to think. I think in one of the Transformers movies, this isn't specifically about minorities, but it's more about the kind of attitude that stems from Western media. In one of the Transformers movies, there's a scene in Iraq. I haven't seen the movie, but I do know there is a scene in one of them, one in Transformers 2 or 3 or something. They're over in the Middle East, like literally Optimus Prime and the other Transformers are over in the Middle East at what is defined as an illegal nuclear weapons facility. So like, they've just taken Middle Eastern people and said, look, they're doing an illegal thing. I know that's not really specifically relating to this, but you know, more often than not, if you see someone in a wheelchair in a movie, for example, that them being in a wheelchair often defines them, doesn't it? It's becoming less and less, like, the acceptance of people being in wheelchairs, for example, is becoming more prominent. But there's always been this situation of portraying disabled people as too enfeebled to go out and have adventures. You have the wheels trope, right? Like this particular thing here, all of a sudden, you know, previously you might have had an NPC who was in a wheelchair or something like that, and they weren't allowed to go out on the adventures because they were hindered by the fact that they were in a wheelchair. But it's a fantasy setting. None of this shit makes any fucking sense. Tensor's floating disc is very useful for injured and disabled characters. Yeah, but I think the specificity of the combat wheelchair itself, however, is the important part. Because, regrettably, perhaps, can wheelchairs wheel backwards? They could do this! They can climb a tower! Fucking, that's awesome! That's fucking awesome! Anyways. Where were we? Even in fantasy games, seeing people like you matters. Premeet Sidhu from the University of Sydney is researching the resurgence of D&D and said the game's rising popularity has expanded its player base from the stereotype of white nerdy men. Having a broader player demographic base has obviously influenced the need for representation in those areas. Thank you, Phage. Yeah, Ruben Ho, go watch that 42-minute video and go fuck yourself. Anyway, people play characters and they want to see themselves represented. Ms. Sidhu said that having more diverse players in the game can help people communicate, break down barriers of discrimination. What I've found is that a lot of D&D players, particularly in social situations, feel a lot more comfortable. I'm fidgeting, if you can hear that clicking. It allows them to be more empathetic, allows them to be more empathetic and understand a different lived experience that is not their own in some cases. She said including the combat wheelchair in popular live streams of the game is significant. Again, representation. Pop a wheelie, fuck yeah. Yeah. Critical Role is huge, so for them to add the combat wheelchair character, it's a massive thing. Oh, it's like I can hear a crunching noise, but I know the cat's right here. No, the cat's fucked off to eat. It is absolutely a toxic question. It is. And like was mentioned, there's a link to a video that explains my thoughts on it. I'm not going to discuss it on here. Where were we? Seeing the representation in the media is where you consume it and understanding that all of it is possible. I think it was really important for the D&D community in general. As with anything on the internet, there's always going to be that vocal minority against it, but from my experience and usually watching it live, there was overwhelming positivity when the character was actually introduced. Yeah, also not on topic. The option of having that tool there for players who do want it is incredible, and that's really the crux of it. People losing their minds at this thing, it's like it's an option. It's literally just a thing you can choose to use. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. If you are that stuck in the mindset that disabled people shouldn't be allowed to be represented in your games, then by all means do not include the combat wheelchair. If you have such an aversion to magic wielders in your universe, you can create a fantastical setting where there are no wizards or wizards are exclusively bad guys. In D&D, you have the option to control literally everything, so why lose your mind over an option being available? It's quite ridiculous. This could be an important moment in someone else's game, so I think it's really important we develop these tools. D&D was first released in 1974 and has faced some criticism over the years for its representation of minority groups, ranging from how it's handled race to portrayals of disabled people. Publishing company Wizards of the Coast has promised to address these issues with reprints of old editions removing offensive content, which is a good thing, and I know there are going to be people who look at this. There was a thing on this very subject. There were people who were angry about the removal of that offensive content because the situation was specifically that there were certain races that were just explicitly evil. I think like goblins and orcs and things of that nature. You know, the issue of there became that how am I supposed to write a D&D campaign now if I don't have some faceless enemy army that I can send my adventurers up against? Always chaotic evil races? Yeah, pretty much. You know, the notion there, of course, being that that race is inherently just strictly barbaric and they exist only for the good and true and really awesome characters to go and massacre them without feeling guilt. My son has been playing Knack 2 specifically lately because he got that for his birthday. And I become intimately familiar with the story by hearing the cutscenes or seeing them as I'm in the room or what have you. And quite literally, Knack is just... it's just about some human characters that have a war robot that are wiping out an entire other race. Like, of course they justify it by saying, oh, the goblins, they're fighting goblins in Knack for some reason. You know, but they present the the goblins as these warmongers that are, you know, waging war on the human race. But the entire game, the story of it, reeks of fucking genocide. Like, it's outright genocide. There are no goblin characters in the game that are presented as good characters. There's no nuance there. Every goblin is presented as this effectively faceless grunt that can safely be killed off with no moral quandary. And it is so fashy. Like, this is a game designed for kids, man. And they're just teaching kids about, you know, there are faceless enemies in the world that you can safely kill and feel no quandary over it. Welcome to the Rogue Room, Valor Pistol. How you doing? It's why in your homebrew, orcs and kobolds were just species in the world. They have cultures of their own and are just as nuanced as the classic species. That's what I do like about Elder Scrolls and Warcraft. You know, they present those races as their own cultures, you know, and they are derivative of existing cultures, I will admit. But they are presented in such a way that they are, you know, they're nuanced. They're not just a faceless enemy. Now, there are still faceless enemy races in, say, Skyrim and the like. And they do justify them in a number of ways. For example, the Falmer, although that's presented more as a race that started out as intelligent, and then due to various actions, due to enslavery, they were, you know, turned into these, what would the term be? They were turned into more of a Neanderthal-like race over time, I suppose. Would that be right? Would that be the way to phrase it? If anyone's played the Elder Scrolls and is familiar with the Falmer, you know, they basically became simple cavemen over generations of slavery and being trapped underground and things of that nature. So, you know, that's right, goblins do exist in Skyrim, don't they? Yeah, regression. Were duped by the Dwemer and then the Dwemer abused them until the Dwemer disappeared, yeah. I don't know too much about the way the goblins are represented in the Elder Scrolls. I do know they show up in Dragonborn, I think. And they are presented as some level of intelligent. React Andrea my Let's Play, please. I know. Fuck no. Dude, why? Is it really that important? I have 45 viewers at the moment. Oh wow, that's gonna blow you up, dude. Anywho, should we continue on the Elder Scrolls discussion? And like that's really it. It's like, you know, Rakelings are kind of different. You can side with them over the meat hall. Yeah, that's it. The Reeklings. Yeah, and you get Reeklings joining in from time to time. The goblins in Elder Scrolls are pretty primitive. Yeah, and that in itself, it's a tricky thing. You know, it shouldn't be. Ideally, it shouldn't be. But a lot of these narratives in a lot of the fantastical settings that we are familiar with, they are presented from an inherently colonial perspective in a lot of ways. A lot of the fantastical settings that we play, again, how often are they rooted in that medieval Europe kind of setting, you know? Or something similar. You know, love hiding in barrels and jumping out. Them hiding in barrels and jumping out. They are primitive, but they are just presented as evil. They're so jittery and they creep you out. What are you doing? There's nothing that's my shadow. He's swiping at my shadow. What is wrong with this kid? This kid being my kitten, for the record. My little kitten. It's a bit long, but it's on topic. Let's have a look. Is cat, so will cat. What's this video? Museum theft. This is a 20-minute video, alright. We'll give it a look. Let me turn the music off. You know what? Hang on. Just gonna pause it on that face, because why not? I'm gonna put my headphones in so that I don't have to keep muting my microphone, because I'd like to add commentary if I can. Stop scratching at things! Jesus Christ, he's destroyed my chair for the record. This is one of the, like, aside, we'll get into this in just a second. This is one of the issues of creating these kinds of, hello, cat. No, stop it. This is one of those issues of creating those kinds of settings, is at some point you're going to need, you know, some kind of villainous character or species. More than likely, it's highly likely if you're creating some kind of a fantasy setting, you're going to need that kind of a thing by and large, because a lot of these narratives tend to focus on war scenarios or what have you. You need an enemy, right? And you got to be really careful about how you represent them. You got to be careful about how you present that warlike enemy or any kind of antagonistic character, I don't think it's impossible to create a fantasy setting without that kind of thing. It's just, you've got to be very cautious about the way you represent these things. Because if you take inspiration from the real world and interpretations of other cultures, which inevitably happens, then you run the risk of, obviously, potentially upsetting those cultures, upsetting those people, Even if you wanted to represent them in a positive light and you do as much research as possible, it's still a very tricky area to traverse. We've kind of gone way off topic. But anyway.
I've got a weird story I want to tell you. A true story. A true, weird, weirdly true story. So there's this...
Why is his beard so perfect? That's unsettling. How perfect that beard is. Except under here, for some reason, he hasn't done down here. It's just so neat. It looks like a beard wig. It's just so precise. Anyways, like most people do a Scottish accent for dwarves, yeah. There was some concerns about the idea of orcs being representations of, was it black slaves or something along those lines? Was the comparison that was being made, or something like that? Or maybe compared to native people, like indigenous people? I forget what the exact concern was. Druig is pretty grumpy crab people in Elder Scrolls. Can make the goblins an extremely xenophobic species that think all other forms of life are inferior. Yeah, you could do that. Why are horror movie characters sometimes unbelievably stupid? I know. Oh, God. Going straight arc. I'm not going straight, I'm appreciating the beard hair. Warhammer orcs are just cockney.
This kid named Edwin Rist. He's a talented kid, and he gets into this extremely niche subculture of tying fly fishing lures. And this isn't even the weird part, but I do have to explain it a little bit. So, when you're fly fishing, you don't need much of a lure because salmon can barely see anyway. But despite this fish blindness, there was this hobby in Victorian times of tying these incredibly complicated, detailed, beautiful fly fishing lures. It wasn't really about attracting the fish. It was about the craft of it all and seeing how detailed and how beautiful you could make your lure. Allow me an analogy. It's kind of like putting RGB lighting on your RAM. It doesn't make the computer go faster, but boy, does it make the other boys jealous. Anyway.
Oh my God, what was that price?
Doesn't make the computer go faster, but boy, does it make the other boys jealous.
$12,000 fucking dollars. Oh my God. That has to be, Jesus Christ, BenQ XL. Is that a $10,000 monitor? That has to have been edited. That has to have been edited. I refuse to, that has to be edited. Surely there's not a $10,000 monitor. You're fucking kidding. It's only 27 inches. Piss off. Piss the fuck off. When was this published? 2019. Okay, maybe. Shut up. Like when someone says, get out, get the hell out. Had an idea for a zombie survival game, but it's in Toontown. There's some pretty blunt references to African slaves. Yeah, absolutely. The orcs were definitely... Honestly, like, one of the things that I distinctly recall feeling was not so much the comparison to African slaves, but more like the way that the humans were treating the orcs as of Warcraft 3, which I know, like, this is not an original concept the Nazis came up with, but they specifically talk about internment camps and things of that nature, and the way that the orcs were being treated in those internment camps, and it just very much invoked that Nazis treating the Jews imagery sort of thing. But of course, it's probably, there's a lot of those kinds of ideas that are just perpetual throughout human history. Orc dances reminiscent of dances popular in black culture, yeah. But the thing about the orcs being a racist stereotype thing didn't really stem from Warcraft. It was a D&D related thing specifically. It was a news thing like 2 years ago. Warcraft shit 1, 2, going into 3, so it makes sense, yeah. Looks like it was edited. You're finding the same monitor for only like $700. Yeah, I think it was edited.
Anyway, Edwin gets into this hobby.
And yes, I want RGB RAM. Anyway, let him continue.
He's only 14, 15 years old, but he's tying things at shows, and all the older dudes in this hobby are really impressed with him. He's this breath of fresh air in what is an extremely old and kind of stuffy culture. But Edwin is frustrated with the limits of his fly tying, because back in the day, the people who did this tied with the feathers of all these beautiful and exotic birds that were so beautiful and so exotic that of course humanity overdid it, and now most of them are endangered or extinct. So Edwin and the other people in this hobby really want to tie with these endangered bird feathers, but they can't, because those feathers are illegal to buy. It's kind of like if the hot new thing in PC building was coating your motherboard with polar bear skin. But Mom, it'll make the boys on the subreddit so jealous.
I'm gonna do that now. Anyway, Warcraft 1 and 2 orcs are evil and vicious as fuck, yeah. Huge amount of D&D lore comes from Tolkien, yeah, that's true. A lot of cat, Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus, sorry. I meant to throw him away. Cat, go away. Jesus Christ, dude. He's just... No. Fuck. Stop. Do not ever eat polar bear liver. Holy fucking shit, he's just going at me at the moment. I had to kick him out of the room. You don't need RGB because you're the only person that's got to see your giant... Yeah, I'm like that. Like... That's my PC over there. It's got some lights in it, but I'm the only one that ever sees it, so I just don't really care all that much. Do not eat polar bear liver. The amount of vitamin A in polar bear liver is toxic. Jesus Christ. He's just scratching me like crazy. I don't know what's going on.
So Edwin feels like he's kind of stuck without these rare and special feathers, but he finds out there's a place with a ton of them. The British Museum. Specifically, a satellite of the British Museum in Tring, where they keep specimens of thousands of kinds of animals. In the museum, there are birds of paradise and katingas and all of these other highly sought-after species of birds, and they're just sitting there doing nothing when they could be being turned into expensive and useless fly fishing lures. So Edwin makes a plan the way we all do, by creating a Word document that's called Plan for Museum Invasion. And then he goes to the British Museum in Tring, and he breaks a window, and he gets into the hallway with all of these birds, and they're dead. I didn't say that before. The birds are dead. It's not a museum where there are like thousands of birds flying around, though that would be awesome. So he gets to these bird specimens, and he maybe meant to take just one or two, but he sees these drawers and he just kind of gets swept up in the whole experience of all of it, and he just starts grabbing all of them, all these endangered and extinct species, and he's stuffing them in the suitcase that he brought, and he fills up the whole trunk, and he drags his trunk back across the museum, and then he escapes out the window. And museum security knows they've been broken into, but because they have so much stuff, they actually don't know what's been stolen until much later, and by that time, Edwin is just gone. He's pieced out. And not only is he gone, but he's actually started selling these feathers on the dark web or the black market or however these transactions take place. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why is Edwin selling the feathers? I thought he was just in it for the craft. I thought he just wanted to tie fly fishing lures.
Web.
And this is the part where I tell you that Edwin didn't just tie lures, he was also a trained flautist at the Royal Conservatory of Music in London, and he was selling feathers because he wanted to buy a golden flute. What?
Okie doke. That sounds to me like an extremely privileged little shit who deserves to get punched in the head. Cool story, bro. What's this video actually about? Who the fuck built a golden flute? Somebody did. Somebody did. What's the actual... I've forgotten what the context was. Beta, welcome to the Rogue Room. How you doing? I've forgotten what the actual context was for this video at this point because our discussion has gone so far off track that I don't know what we're talking about anymore. Like, they use those DNA samples to possibly work on revitalizing the species from extinction. Is that possible? Is it to go with Charlie Daniels' Golden Fiddle? Yeah. I mean, this is, quite frankly, you know, very indicative of the kind of selfishness that a lot of people exude. Someone said it was related to disabled people. Oh, I see. I'm not quite sure. It's getting late, though. I might have to leave it for now. Maybe we can come back to it. It's quite a worthless metal outside of electronics. Well, it's on topic. Okay. We'll watch it then. We'll watch the whole video and then I'll go to bed. Alrighty. It's... The thing about gold is, yeah, it's a worthless metal outside of electronics, but it is a very expensive metal because we said so. In much the same way that we said diamonds are expensive. You know, a few humans got together and said, this particular resource is worth a lot of money, so we're going to hoard it and charge people a lot of money to own it in any capacity. That's the thing with gold, you know.
When I think about a museum heist, I'm thinking full Ocean's 11 style. You know, you've got the detailed plans of the museum, the blueprints, the gadgets, the daring escapes. I just realized that it's not actually Ocean's 11 that I'm thinking about. And what's weird is that some of the most successful art thieves in history have been simultaneously more and less cinematic than those movies. Gerald Blanchard stole the kosher diamond pearl from a castle in Vienna by skydiving in and then swapping the pearl with a replica he got from the gift shop, like straight up Indiana Jones. But you've also got guys like Stefan Breitweiser who stole literal hundreds of pieces of art, paintings, sculptures, everything. And he did almost all of them by just walking into a museum, waiting until a guard was out of the room, and then grabbing it and walking out. Stefan is really interesting actually, because by most measures, he's the most successful art thief in history. He stole 239 pieces, everything under the sun, and also under protected panes of glass, untold millions worth, and I actually can't put a dollar value on it because Stefan never sold anything. He was broke. He lived in his mom's attic with his girlfriend. But holy crap, what an attic. Every square inch coated in color in Renaissance paintings and goblets and plates and silverware. It's about the closest thing to a real-life dragon's lair as I can possibly imagine. Him and his girlfriend live in this one beautiful, lavish, off-the-charts illegal room, and his mom lives under him, allegedly with no idea of what he was hiding up there. And this strategy, if you can call it that, actually makes Stefan pretty much impossible to track. Most art thieves are picked up when they're selling it. The black market isn't exactly airtight. But because all of his paintings and sculptures and everything else just stayed in one place, enjoyed by exactly 2 people, investigators were pretty much stumped. And it all stayed there. At least, for a while. Before that, another story.
Another story? How many stories has he got? Ashrin, welcome to the Rogue Room. Dude made a fucking blue satin bowerbird nest, but with bougie art. That's fucking amazing. It is a luscious beard, isn't it?
Have you ever heard of the Kingdom
Look at
of
it. It's
Benin?
got to be professionally done.
I hadn't, but it's important. For hundreds of years in modern-day Nigeria, the kingdom was this advanced and powerful center of trade and culture. It had a collection of earthen walls that were literally longer than the Great Wall of China. It had one of the first ever examples of street lights, sculpted metal lamps that blazed a trail for traders at night. It honestly sounds kind of like Atlantis, except, you know, in Nigeria. One of the things they were best at was metalworking. The people created these beautiful and complex masks and sculptures. Some of the kingdom's best known work are the Benin bronzes created from 500 to 1,000 years ago. They're bananas cool. The skill with which these were made is off the freaking charts, and even more than that, they're a vital look into the practices and culture of this civilization. What did they do to develop this level of metalworking? How did this extend into the rest of their day-to-day life and culture? What's the legacy of this art? These are unbelievably important to the history of Nigeria, and for hundreds of years they decorated the Kingdom of Benin's palace. But for the past 100 years, the best place to see them was the TripAdvisor #4 place to visit in London, the British Museum. Why did these end up here? It's actually worth going into a little bit more detail because the story is pretty nuts. So the British Empire
Let's laugh at colonialism, kids. It's fucking awful. It destroys entire cultures.
is in the process of colonizing everything they can get their hands on. But in the 1800s, the Kingdom of Benin is still powerful enough to refuse this control. It was powerful and well protected, and obviously not wild about falling under someone else's jurisdiction. Unfortunately, this only made them a more desirable target. Brits sent in basically an assassination squad targeting Benin's king. Unfortunately for that squad, word got out that the white men were bringing more. If I had a nickel. Accordingly, Benin military went out and absolutely obliterated this assassination squad. Unfortunately, the Brits respond by sending back 1,000 Marines and other forces, and over days of bitter fighting, they basically burned Benin to the ground. And then they looted. The Benin bronzes, as well as countless other pieces of art, ended up in the British Empire's hands. The only ones that they didn't hang on to were the ones that they sold to make up for the cost of the ransacking. Because apparently destroying cultures doesn't pay the bills. The Benin bronzes, when brought back with the troops, actually faced a disbelief because they were just too complex, too advanced. The British Empire couldn't believe that this could have come from a culture that they had convinced themselves they were superior to. And summarily, the legacy of the Kingdom of Benin has basically faded into obscurity. But just
I mean, that's the first time I'd ever heard of it. Ancient aliens is racist? Oh yeah, absolutely. Implies humanity can't do shit and needs aliens to tell us how to make shit, yeah. It is sad, and that's really the story of pretty much any sort of colonialist thing. I've got words. It's midnight and I haven't had real caffeine since like before midday. Shut up.
just give them back, right? Return the stolen art. Shake hands. All in a day's work. Well, not quite. Because returning what's stolen is rarely a clean process. Edwin Rist, bird boy thief extraordinaire, was eventually caught. But a boy in the hand wasn't worth
It's midnight
birds
here,
in
yeah.
the box. Look, he'd already sold the birds. And more than that, he had disassembled the birds, plucking many of them clean to sell the feathers individually for greater profit. He had already removed and thrown out the handwritten tags that were attached to them that held priceless scientific information about where and when they were found. Ultimately, any sense of justice in catching Rist feels unimportant next to the loss of so much knowledge, so many irreplaceable specimens. Because these birds weren't just collected to have. They were a century-old recognition by Alfred Wallace that these species faced an existential threat in humanity, and one day, these specimens might be all we have of birds of paradise and cotingas and all the rest. And guess what? He was right. There's not much left of these birds' environments. It's shrinking every day. And thanks to people like Edwin Rist and the illicit buyers of the fly tying community, there's not much left of those specimens either. Edwin Rist's story isn't half as bleak as Stephen Bright.
All that knowledge lost because, quite literally, capitalism. People be like, aliens built Stonehenge, and I'm like, unlike you, I know humans can make stuff like that just fine. Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous how many people don't believe humans are smart enough to create, magnificent, gigantic things like the pyramids, Because people have convinced themselves that the society we live in now is the most advanced one, People have convinced themselves that we are the furthest point in, cultural evolution, I suppose. Science has an abusive relationship with capitalism. Also slave labor. Yes, that too.
Weisers, though. Remember him? The one with the smog-like collection of art in the attic? So he also gets caught, eventually, for a minor theft, a bugle from a museum in Switzerland. And the police arrest him, and Stefan immediately confesses to everything, hundreds of thefts, even though the police hadn't even realized they were connected. But eventually, the police make their way to Stefan's house, throw open the doors to his attic, and nothing. Empty walls. Not a painting or goblet or engraved fork to be seen. Because while Stefan's been in jail, his girlfriend has been freaking out. So she hightails it home, and she finally takes Stefan's mother up to the attic, and they stare for a minute at maybe the most illegal room in the history of art. And then Stefan's mom takes all the sculptures and jewelry, everything carved or blown or engraved. She takes them all, and she throws them in the Rhone-Rhine Canal. And then she takes all of his Renaissance paintings, all of the beautiful color.
You like my nail polish, thank you. Nobody's saying humans can't also be stupid, but 2016 happened. Yeah, throwing them in the canal. Good idea, Mum. Good idea. Yeah, Twitter does not encourage a belief in humans being smart, that's for sure.
And brilliant shapes and detailed characters that had wallpapered his room. She takes the Bruegels and the Teniers and the Van Kessels and the Cranachs. She takes them all, dozens of works, hundreds of years old. She throws these Renaissance paintings in a pile in the forest, and she sets them on fire.
I now believe in the death penalty. My mind has been changed.
There were some that were able to be recovered, thankfully.
Yeah, I was literally going to say, bring back the burning at the pyre. It's deserved at this point, you know.
A river might rust up
family
an old
of cunts,
plate, but
yeah.
it won't destroy it. One man found some old bronzes thrown out on the side of the road by Stefan's mother, and he nailed them to the roof of his house to fix leaks. But once he heard the story, he returned them. There's no returning those ashes, though. Stefan, for his part, was absolutely shattered by the news. He was put on suicide watch in jail. And unlike Edwin or the British Empire, he really did seem to steal things out of some compulsive, unstoppable love of the material. During his trial, he actually interrupts several times because he felt the paintings weren't being adequately described. But still,
Our stakes are for burning humans.
where does this leave us? Museum theft is a land of contrasts. That feels like a cop-out. What connects them? Can we draw a line between Edwin Rist and Stephen Breitweiser and the countless colonial thefts of the British Museum? I guess the thing that grabs me and strikes me so tragic about all these cases is just the sense of what's lost. We know who took them. We can have a fleeting sense of justice, but none of that can really fill the whole of what's gone. The bird specimens that Edwin stole provide far more than historical knowledge. They could actually bring back lost species, like a not ill-conceived version of Jurassic Park. They could actually help us reverse some of the damage we've done over the past 100 years. Stefan's mother didn't just burn his paintings, actually. She also stuffed some of them down her garbage disposal. And her destruction reveals how fragile a lot of art history actually is. I adore the artist Peter Bruegel, who drew these enormous, detailed paintings of the Tower of Babel and marketplaces and battlefields and everything else. Telegraph lists one of the paintings destroyed as cheating benefits his master by Bruegel, and I haven't even been able to find a picture of the thing. It's weird in the age of the internet to grapple with the fact that some things are still finite and irreplaceable. Once it's gone, it's gone. I was reading a post about the walls of Benin on a Nigerian forum called Nairaland, and someone named Rosic posted about the scale and impact that the walls once had, and what's left now. Imagine if this monument was in England, USA, Germany, Canada, or India. It would be the most visited place on Earth and a tourist mecca for millions of the world's people. But instead, this monument, the world's largest man-made monument lies bruised, battered, neglected, and forgotten in the Nigerian bush. This is a story of the horrors of colonialism, far bigger than the theft of any individual bronzes, but for me, they're impossible to separate, because unlike Edwin's feathers or Stefan's burnt paintings, these bronzes still exist. Even if the walls of Benin had naturally crumbled to dust, these sculptures should have been a permanent fixture in the country's cultural memory, a reminder of how powerful and accomplished their ancestors had been. Instead, they sat for 100 years in a box in London, completely removed from their context, detached from the historical legacy they're a part of. Unlike the feathers or the ashes, these bronzes can be returned, and they're actually going to be on loan.
Oh my god. You want to die? Yeah, that's what I'm feeling at the moment. I'm just like, and I agree, burning art is a sin, and I'm an atheist, so I'm like, yes. At least when the state steals something, it could usually be returned. Idiots steal something, it gets destroyed. And yeah, like, I'm fully inclined to agree. White people ruin everything. Also, Wayward, welcome to the Rogue Room. Germany has agreed to return the Benin bronzes to their possession in their possession to Nigeria. Well, that's good.
That's a band-aid over a much larger scar, one that all colonialism-built museums need to reckon with. It's easy for us to understand the tragedy of individual events like Edwin's or Stefan's, but thefts like the Benin bronzes fall across so many lines of institutional power that it can be hard to even wrap your head around. But you should try. Because what all of these stories tell us, birds and thieves and lost civilizations, is how hard it is to truly replace what's been taken.
Damn, son. What's this video called? And now he's probably going to do the ad plug, I would say. Yep, by the look of it. Museum Theft by Jacob Geller. I'm going to subscribe to this dude because of the beard. And it should make you... It feels better that it makes me feel better that things are being returned, but my god. Like, it really reveals quite a bit. You know. Hope they never take away his beard. Though the UK government recently passed a law to prevent British institutions from returning artifacts without the government's express permission. How do you think that's going to go? How do you think that's going to go? I wonder. Ugh, goodness. Goodness, mate. Imagine what Benin could have been today. Yeah, exactly. This is what we've lost, you know? This is what colonialism did. He's white, his beard is safe. For goodness sake. You're not wrong. Just for goodness sake. Ah, okie dokie. I am well and truly tired. There's a country that exists today. Okay. So what's the exact situation with it now? Are they planning on returning those things to them, or... I would only hope. I could only hope. You know. Anyways, I am exhausted. I might need to get back on the coffee, maybe. Maybe that's a thing that I need to do. What do you reckon? Back on the real coffee. This guy is so soothing. We'll have to have a look tomorrow because I'm tired. Without the colonialism. I've got nothing left going on, so I'm just like in my head empty. No thoughts, head empty. Anyways, give me a second while I wait for this PlayStation Plus ad to play, and I'll see if I can actually raid this person that I had in mind. Returning their Benin bronzes to Nigerian institutions as they collected their artifacts from in current Nigerian territory. Okay, I see. Alright. We're going to raid Hometown Green, who is doing a threaded cane run of Bloodborne, which I have been doing lately as well. I've been doing a threaded cane run, and I really want to bring it to stream at some point, so that's a thing that might happen. At any rate, we're going to go say hi. I need to get some sleep. I'm very tired. I am very genuinely fucking exhausted. I'm sorry that I'm not really on top of my game right now. I wish I could be for you, but I'm completely out of it. If you're not already followed all the socials, please do. Thanks for the hugs. I'm just dead. I suppose the last hour or so has been pretty chill because we've just been watching videos, but I do want to get back into my full-blown newsy kind of stuff. Tomorrow we might have a gander at critical race theory because I keep seeing that phrase and it's a bit of a trending topic at the moment, I think because Candace Owens said something about it or some nonsense. So we're going to have a look at what critical race theory really is, get an understanding of it. I'll try to do some research throughout the day so I'm not completely talking out of my ass as we're reading through the actual theory of it. But that's a thing that we may do. We might do some more learning, more educating. Anyway, have a good one, folks. I'll see you when I'm looking at you. I love your faces. Be kind to yourselves and each other. Also, this. Ta-ta!